All right. I'm here. This is a stream I wasn't gonna do tonight. But I didn't see Dark or anybody else going live that's really cool and I love and I want to follow. And if there's anybody out there I missed that I am following, I'm sorry. Um, but I decided to go ahead and run it. It's one of those nights I am definitely feeling more than a little cantankerous. So yeah, put the women and children to bed, guys, because I just put mine to. Um, the wife had to go help a friend out, and it's going to be back in a little bit. And well, she might, I don't know, she'll deal with it. G23, what is up, my brother? Who we got so far? We got my brother Mike McLean from up there in the damn cold ass north. Warsaw Patriot, what's happening, my brother? G23 checking in. We got Jason Ewing, much love, my brother. Hey, G2, I meant to ask you again, brother. Were you ever able to get a hold of video from the cases around all that shit in Oregon? I never checked back with you, and that's my fault. I life's life, man. It's one of those things. That's the reason I might go live at erratic times. Because fuck, it is what it is. Oh man, it's one of those things. Agorizer, my brother, Fire Alder checking in. What is up? God damn, bunch of cool ass cats. So anyway, why's my phone going off? Oh, it's telling me I'm live on Rumble too. Okay, so sorry guys on Rumble. You guys normally don't chat a whole lot. So if you're on there and you're not on the Tuba U's and all that, and you don't hear from me, I'll try to check back and forth. But you guys don't chat enough, man. You have keys on a keyboard. Like, do like me and just hunt and pet for letters and shit, and don't have to worry about spelling anything right. Because goddamn knows I don't spell anything right. And yeah, Warsaw. Yeah, we need to hang out with G23. I asked him in the chat the other night, but I didn't get back to him on email, and that's just me being shitty keeping up with people. So my sister Shauna, I'm going to pronounce it 9 different ways just because you're not around to strangle me, and all you can get to is Jason. So you have to email me a fuck you, or mail me a pipe bomb, one of the two. Just be careful. USPS can be a little funny. I gotta mess with you, sis. You and Jason are such good ass cats. It ain't even funny, man. Congratulations on how many subs did you guys hit the other day? Was it 1,000 or was it 500? You guys have to remind me because I'm a fucking squirrel and I've got tons of different things floating around in my brain. Check your phone. Came across it. I saw something you sent me a little bit ago and I was busy doing 900 other things. Now I'm trying to get everybody pointed in the right directions where I can hang. So let's ask this. So let's do a one in the chat for all of you guys that have heard about the lawsuit where Mexico tried to sue Smith and Wesson. We'll give it a minute. See how many people have heard of that. Because Mexico tried to sue Smith and Wesson for guns coming into Mexico, and I'm gonna ask the whole chat that. And let's, like I said, throw ones in there if you realize that happened, because it is an important case. Dang old Matt, what's up, my brother? Fire G23, Mr. Bullshitter, what's up, my brother, Mr. Bullshitter? Anthony Smith checking in, my brother. Yep. So, all right. I can't remember. It may have been 4 boxes. Because so many guys I follow, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard for me to just keep track of shit. So, how many guys heard that case was originally shut down by the courts, and now the First Circuit is going to go back and hear this shit en banc? In other words, they're trying to keep that lawsuit alive. So, number 2, if you know that the courts are trying to keep it alive. Like I said, I want participation. Did I lose everybody? There's nobody typing. Yeah. So anyway, if nobody's heard that, what has happened is that lawsuit where Mexico tried to sue America and American gun manufacturers originally got shut down. So what has happened now is the let me see, those are arguments were originally heard in the First Circuit. Anyway, now it's going to go en banc, and the courts, yeah, these bastards, are going to let this lawsuit go forward. And what I want to do tonight, and we might get to a couple things, but I want to do tonight is listen to the original oral arguments in the First Circuit, and we'll look at how this case was originally. Yeah, well, lawfare never sleeps. Fucking agorizer, 100% right. So I'm going to open it up. I'm going to go back to the original arguments, and I want to listen to that. I listened to it twice today, I think, and it's like everything else. The more I listen to it, the more BS that I hear in these arguments. And if I was really good at editing video and putting a coherent short video together, that's how I would do them. But it's much more fun to go through shit like random as hell and hang out with the chat because you guys are cool as shit. And it helps my brain. But we're going to go through. Hold on. I think I did still have it up. Let me make sure I still have it up. Because I've had so much of the crap going on. Matter of fact, let me do something real quick. If I had ever learned to type, cause that's why, just cause. It's so freaking crazy. And you guys, when we listen to the oral arguments, you guys will see just how insane this actually is. Because all of you guys are smart enough, man. You guys freaking will absolutely see what's happening. Well, all you guys already know what's happening. They're trying to sue these gun companies and put them out of business. Well, because the government's full of shit and they want to destroy gun companies any way they can. And it's just another way. And I would damn near bet money that the Mexican government is not paying for this lawsuit. I would bet money. So this was argued in 22. Yeah. I think this was 2022 when this was argued. And I can't remember whether I covered it or not. But anyway, we're going to cover it tonight. Oh yeah, Warsaw, hey, brother, wait till you hear these fucking arguments. Let's do full. Matter of fact, let's back up. Let's do full share the pain stream rules. So unload your firearms and put them out of reach, at least out of a decent reach. You don't want to be able to reach them quick like a holster. Go ahead and unload them. Well, no, don't unload them. Just put them out of reach. In that case, I mean, you don't want to have to do too much shit. But just put them out of reach. At least give yourself that second or two where you don't just blast your computer. And I am not responsible if you do. Matter of fact, Warsaw, brother, let me send you a link and let you come in because this is going to be one of those things. If you can, what I do with my email again? Because matter of fact, I'm gonna hit Night Strike up too. Because I told Brother Night Strike I would hit him up. Paste. and send. So you should get that link, Warsaw, in just a second. So just if you hit it, or if you want to. What I do want to, there's no way I'm going to be able to let this stuff play without my fucking head exploding for too long. Night Strike. You just got to learn how to bust Night Strike's balls, man. If you can handle me, you can handle Strike. Come on, Warsaw. If you can handle my smart ass, you can handle Night. There's no way around it. I'm a way bigger asshole than Night Strike's ever been. So let me see. Let me get my screen share right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to share the page because I didn't download the audio to it. I didn't try to download it. So let's see. Let's present screen share. I think this is, yeah, this should be it. And yeah, we're sharing it with audio. All right, so you guys give me
case number 221823, Estados Unidos Mexicanos versus Smith & Wesson Brand Inc. et al. Attorney Shadowin, please introduce yourself for the record.
Please, the court. My name is
Let
Steve
it rock and
Shadowin.
roll,
I represent the government of Mexico in this matter. My colleague,
Now,
Mr. Lowy, and I.
That's something hit real fast. So Mexico, and I know I'm stopping it quick. Jesus Christ. There are two lawyers, and I have to look these guys up. I didn't get to it today. There are two American lawyers representing Mexico in this case. Now, understand, they're going after PLACA, the basically the protected commerce. Fuck me, I'm losing my brain. Basically protecting American gun owners from frivolous lawsuits. I'll get into it that way because I can never remember PLACA most of the time. But what Mexico is trying to do here, and this is something we need to touch on first. Mexico is trying to do here is sue American gun manufacturers for the harm they have suffered, and put that in quotations, because American guns are coming across the border into Mexico and cartels are using those guns to harm people in Mexico. And all of you guys should remember that there's a federal agency, AFT, that trafficked a lot of guns into Mexico. They forced FFLs to sell them guns so they could traffic them into Mexico. Keep that in mind during this. PLACA. Yeah, the Protection of Legal Commerce and Arms Act. So, yeah, let's get to this.
Split the argument. I'll have 8 minutes. He'll have 7. And with the court's permission, I would like to reserve for rebuttal 2 of my 8 minutes.
You may.
The district court here committed 3 errors, each of which independently is sufficient to require the reversal of the court's grant of the motion to dismiss this complaint. I will address the court's error in applying the presumption against extraterritoriality, and also the court's error.
CIA was in there too.
The application of small versus U.S. to PLACA, even if PLACA otherwise applied.
Z,
I'll
what's
also
up, my
address
brother?
any questions that the court may have about choice of law. Mr. Lowy will address the district court's error in becoming the first and only court in 20 years of litigation under PLACA to conclude that the predicate exception applies only if the violated statute
Give me a minute.
provides
Let me
a
grab
private
phone
right of
charger real
action.
fast on my
Mr.
phone.
Lowy will also address any questions the court has about proximate cause or duty. With respect to the presumption against extraterritoriality, the Supreme Court over the last dozen years has emphasized again and again and vociferously, and as recently as last month, the requirement that every federal statute is subject to a presumption against extraterritoriality. That is, that the statute does not apply extraterritorially unless Congress has affirmatively and unmistakably instructed that the statute shall apply. And the purpose of that presumption is to avoid unintended clashes with the interests of foreign sovereigns. And it ensures, in essence, to really put it to the nut of the matter, it ensures that if applying a statute extraterritorially is going to have some possible foreign policy implication, that decision, whether to go ahead and apply the statute despite those foreign policy implications, that decision is made by the political branches and not by the courts.
Well, how is this even being applied extraterritoriality in an extraterritorial way?
Well, because the PLACA defines the claims that are precluded, and it defines the claims as those that arise from injury from gun misuse. That's what the statute says. This is not an absolute prohibition on claims against gun manufacturers. That's not this statute. The statute defines the claims
So,
that are precluded, and it defines them to be claims arising from injury from gun misuse.
But it doesn't preclude claims filed in Mexico courts. It just regulates what can be filed or not filed in U.S. courts.
With
Yep.
respect, Your Honor, it doesn't regulate what can be filed in U.S. courts. It defines the claims that can be filed.
Well,
in
it says
US
certain
courts.
claims can't be filed in U.S.
That-
courts.
That's correct.
So
And-
suppose Congress said no punitive damage claims can be filed in federal courts. Would that be run into extraterritoriality issues?
It would determine what the focus of that statute is, and that's where the district court here erred. What was in the district court correctly found that in general the defendants had not overcome the presumption against extraterritoriality at the first step in the two-step inquiry. It then turned to the second step.
I'm not
which is
sure I heard an
determining
answer
the
to my
focus.
question. Could Congress say no punitive damage claims filed in U.S. courts?
It could say that. Then the question would be, what is the focus of that statute, and does the conduct relevant to that focus occur in the United States or abroad? And you would have to apply the focus inquiry to that statute.
And how would you get an answer? I mean, suppose it was clear they did it because they wanted to protect.
sorry. I forgot to hit the button. But anyway, yeah, it's me. What can I say? So this whole punitive damage shit that he's talking about right now, punitive damages only concern whether I produce a product that harms people when they use it as is directed, like a medication they tell me is going to cure things and it doesn't, and actually kills me or makes me even sicker. Or if a gun manufacturer was actually caught not obeying the law, selling guns out the back door to anybody they wanted that they knew were criminals, all right, then you could do punitive damages. Let me add Warsaw up here. What's up, brother Warsaw?
Not a whole
So-
lot.
So you could do punitive damages in those situations. Now, when you have a legal product that wasn't improperly manufactured, that doesn't harm people when you use it as directed, you don't get punitive damages from shit like that. That's not the way the law works.
Apart from like suing gun manufacturers for criminal intent, is there any other organization or manufacturers actually getting sue besides firearm companies?
Well, there are a lot of lawsuits that have tried shit like that, and typically they don't win. Typically they just get laughed out of court.
Like, say, a hardware store, like some guy murders some woman with a hammer.
Yeah, you don't see that because they use the hammer in a way it was not meant to be used. See, if we follow the general rules of firearm safety, yeah, automakers, another one. If we follow the rules of general firearm safety, no firearm would ever hurt an innocent person. Period.
Or a lawnmower.
Yeah, I really am, and I gotta look to see whether there's been any. But I have to look up and see whether there's been any lawsuits against tannerite manufacturers.
Or how about wood chippers?
Yeah.
Because mafias have actually used them. Hell, even the Iceman. I remember watching the movie, he used one.
Yeah. It's the PLACA was created to keep people from doing all these lawfare suits against gun companies and then just bankrupting them, because that's what was starting to happen at the time. And now we have Mexico, a foreign country, suing our gun manufacturers. Now, Smith & Wesson is a name party in here, but don't think if they get this through, it won't be Ruger or Henry or anybody else next. So,
what was it? They already went after Remington, didn't they?
Well, yeah, Remington, and see, they got around PLACA with Remington in the state suit for Sandy Hook because they went after their advertising.
Mm-hmm.
And see, they weren't winning the case, but they bled them so dry, the insurance company gave up on it and settled. So it wasn't a win in court. They bled them to the point where the insurance company was like, screw it, we're going to pay these folks. Sorry for your loss, but we can't take it any further. So let's get back and listen to this dude before we lose where we're at.
Protect U.S. manufacturers and defendants generally from punitive damages.
If that were the focus of the statute, and then you would, if the conduct relevant to that focus occurred in the United States, then you would say that's permissibly domestic. The difference here is that the Supreme Court in Western GECO has made absolutely clear when there are different provisions, two provisions of a statute, and they work in tandem, the court must determine the focus of each of those provisions and then apply the inquiry there. Here, Section 7902A of PLACA says that no qualified civil liability action can be brought in a federal or state court. And then the term qualified civil liability action is a defined term. So it is clear that that works in tandem with
tactical. I missed your show the other day, brother. I'm sorry. I ended up not waking up before your show was over. But what else, family?
No, Goop, I do have a question on this.
Yeah.
You can sue a gun manufacturer if there was harm on the user, which is a shooter, correct?
If you use the product as intended and say, I'm shooting my Glock, I haven't done anything to it, I'm just shooting my Glock, and the slide comes apart and hits me in the forehead and wounds me or kills me, then yes, there are lawsuits there. That is a defective product.
Now, that's the suit that you can do. Now, what they're proposing is where they say, oh, you could sue this company because it was using a mass shooting from some ill-intent individual killing multiple people.
That's the suit you're not supposed to be able to do. That was the point of PLACA. The point of PLACA was supposed to be so that if a gun manufacturer manufactures a product and it proves to be a safe product, it goes to a distributor. Distributor sells it, and it was used in a liquor store robbery that the person either involved in the robbery or their family member couldn't go sue the gun company. The same way you don't go sue Ford when some dummy goes over there and runs your spouse over, because Ford made the car to do a certain thing, and that certain thing wasn't to run innocent people over. Gun manufacturers manufacture firearms not to kill innocent people. They manufacture them as tools of defense, for sports shooting, for all these things, but never to, murder innocent people.
Now, actually, Coop, yeah, that just reminded me. Shit, I just remembered. Has there been any other court cases involving knives involving Plaka?
Not that I know of. It would be an
Because-
interesting search.
Because
But
there
not-
is mass stabbings, and I bet you they're trying to sue a knife company just because of some mass stabbing or some sort.
Well, look, it's on Twitter. When was it? Night before last. Because I got about 2 hours of sleep, and I was up all night before I went to work. And this stupid person on Twitter posted some stuff about guns and this. And I said, look, people get killed by everything, to include dildos. And they do. Don't search it unless you want that rabbit hole. Because I was making a joke, and then I looked. Yeah. That's a rabbit hole. And there, yeah. Yeah, don't do it.
Like beating up with a club.
Beaten up with a club, choked on. There were a few. Internal injury was probably the most devastating one I saw. Yeah, it's yeah.
Let's not open that box right now.
Yeah, I opened the top of it and peeked in, and you can't close that bastard. Trust me, you can't. Once you do that, it's open and you're scarred. So yeah, let's roll this again.
Section 79035A, which provides the definition of a qualified civil liability action. And it is there, the focus inquiry must be made with respect to that provision. And Arbitron last month made clear that we're not looking at the focus overall of the statute. We're looking, this focus inquiry is made provision by provision. You must determine the focus of each engaged provision. And here, when the focus inquiry is made on section 79035A, it is clear again that the focus of that statute is injury from gun misuse, and that conduct occurs in Mexico.
Let me ask you, do you agree that this statute, what it purports to be, it's a jurisdiction stripping statute, correct?
We don't believe this is a jurisdiction stripping statute, but even if it is, the two-step inquiry still applies. Supreme Court has made very, very clear it applies, this inquiry applies to every statute of every kind, including jurisdictional statutes.
So the result of the statute would be that, for example, Mexico would have greater rights in a U.S. court than U.S. citizens who can't seek any remedy, correct? That's the practical effect.
That would be a practical effect in this instance.
Think about how crazy that is. And I didn't catch that particular part earlier. So what they're saying is you as a U.S. citizen wouldn't have the same grounds to sue a gun manufacturer as someone in a foreign country.
How is there laws internationally that could affect other countries' companies?
There are, but they're more trade oriented. I think I'd have to look. They're more trade oriented, tax oriented.
I know one of
stuff
his one of them is ITAR. That's optics, like foreign countries and stuff. But I don't know if it's Interpol that be
Well,
involved in that.
ITAR covers everything's firearm related, from firearm schematics to
Optics.
firearms parts to optics, anything to do with firearms.
Would that also include Mexico's, reach and trying to stop the United States government's
No,
grab and stuff?
ITAR is more focused towards like an American citizen, as far as I know, and I could be wrong. I'm not a lawyer. I study it, but I'm not a lawyer. So ITAR is more focused on the government cracking down on, say, a U.S. citizen exporting arms without permission.
So
arms
country to country.
So yeah, like if I decided to throw my M1 Garand in a box and go ship the bitch to Turkey, I would violate ITAR. Or if I had a bulk carrier group or something I wanted to send to Germany, I would be violating ITAR.
Because you got to go through customs.
Yeah, and they're trying to get any. That's one of the ways they're going to go after 3D printing files. Believe it or not, is under ITAR. It's been mentioned. So that if I develop, I draw up a firearm and I put the ST, I think it's the STL file. If I put the STL file out there and someone from a foreign country can access it, I'm breaking ITAR because it's on the internet and someone else from another country got it. That's the insanity of that BS.
And I could remember that one guy that was doing that actually in England. I believe it was England or Germany. He was making his FGG 9 or wherever it was.
Yes, he was one of the original people who worked with a lot of 3D printed files. He's the one. He ended up. They say he committed suicide. If it's the one I'm thinking about, when the cops, and it may be Germany, that surrounded him. Stark, I think.
Yeah, but
Jay Stark. May have been Jay Stark.
Yeah.
And there's some guys that we, watch on streams that are in the 3D community that were involved in a lot of that, and they will tell you right now that whole case is bullshit. But yeah, that's part of where they went after him.
Yeah, and like you said, with the files.
Come out PLA, any of you guys that actually know the backstory. If I'm wrong, fucking hit me up. Tell me I'm a dumbass. Because I might be mixing some names up. But yeah, that's where a lot of that BS came from.
Yep.
Was ITAR went to freaking Interpol, and then Interpol worked it, and then from there. So
Yep.
And Man Against Masses, I did not play the intro tonight on the pop-up. I am
Now,
sorry. You will have plenty of meme material by the night's over with. I can damn near guarantee you.
You know what the funny thing is, though, Coop? Those
Huh.
FGG 9s. Could be wrong, but I swear I thought I saw an article where they actually are using them in the Ukraine.
Yes, I saw that. Matter of fact, I've got the upper and lower to an FGC 9 that I have never finished out that is printed with, I think, carbon fiber reinforcement. And I've never finished it out. I'd have to post some pics of it just cause and see what some of the guys, Ralph and others, thought about the quality of the print. But I'd have to do that one day.
Now, also keep in mind, I want to point something out for the guys in here. This is Mexico, a cartel-ridden, controlled, fucked up country that is up to the brim, where it's even controlling its own goddamn army and military.
Yeah. Do you think they're getting their freaking M2 machine guns from Ed's damn gun shop?
No, because last time I checked, the United States government actually is arming the Mexican government with M4s. What else they got? M9 Berettas to
anything you can think of that our troops have, and I'd have to go. You can look on Congress.gov. You can go in and look at arms exports. You can see what all we've sent to Mexico legally. That ain't counting the shit that the ATF gun walked illegally.
We're talking their military, and they're also their police forces.
Yeah, but if their military gets it, who the hell you think ends up with it?
Yeah, I mean, well, this is also Mexico, mind you. They don't get shit where they're getting their arms from. Hell, they get it from China if they wanted to, or
dude,
Iran.
They have pipelines into terrorist organizations and everything else. They're getting everything they need, regardless of what the United States does.
Yep.
So Mexico can eat a giant one. But yeah, let's play this some more because hell, we're only 7 minutes and 17 seconds in.
Instance, subject to the exceptions that the statute allows for U.S. citizens. But I'll point out that that's not at all an unusual circumstance. In RGR Nabisco, the holding in that case was that there would be no U.S. federal claim under RICO unless the injury occurred in the United States. The Supreme Court then goes on and says, but that doesn't stop foreign sovereigns from suing in the United States.
Okay. I had to stop
That-
that there.
that's
Unless
the RICO
the
Act.
injury
That's the
occurred
RICO laws.
in the United States, but you had a border agent killed with guns that the ATF trafficked. That was on U.S. soil.
That
My
was a
kids aren't all the way asleep. I can't lose it.
that was a DEA agent, wasn't it?
It was a border agent.
Border
Now,
agent, yeah.
have there been some others dropped with it? Yeah.
States under their own laws that may well give them a right of action. So it's not at all unusual.
And let me then, just the third part of the question, let's assume that you are able to bring the lawsuit here in federal court. It's diversity, so you're applying Massachusetts law. Doesn't Massachusetts law look, the conflict of law rules to the place where the most significant relationship to the cause of action? Isn't that the test in Massachusetts?
That is the test in Massachusetts, but we think that points to the application of Mexican law. But it really doesn't, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't affect significantly any of the issues before the court today, because just to make crystal clear, it's the two-step inquiry that determines whether the federal statute applies abroad, and then choice of law issues affect only what tort law, in essence, applies. And
So
so
one last question, I apologize. If you cannot sue, if we were to confirm the district court, you cannot, Mexico cannot sue in federal court here in the United States. It would have to use its own courts. The problem is then enforcing the judgment. That's the issue. If you come to the United States, I guess under the court's reasoning, if we were to affirm, PLACA would still you wouldn't be able to bring an executor action to execute that judgment, correct?
the government has not yet taken a position on whether PLACA would preclude an enforcement action. But really, the reason we sued in the United States, yes, we would like money damages for the injury that has occurred, but there are 20,000 deaths a year that are caused by this conduct. And what we want is an injunction to make these defendants start paying attention to their distribution system.
Gabber, what's
And
up, brother?
It's only U.S. courts that can.
Just living
provide
that dream,
injunctive
man.
relief.
Can I just want to turn back. You said the focus is the injury from gun misuse.
Yes, ma'am.
And I've been trying to narrow down what your argument is on focus. And I'm wondering if you can sort of address this
I got a lot.
question. I understand your argument to be that the resulting harm in Mexico is the injury.
All
But
right,
is that
pause.
sufficient to satisfy the
Yeah,
relevant
let's go.
conduct
Let's go.
test?
Yeah,
And I
let's
keep
pause.
thinking about,
All right.
Resulting harm. Honestly, guys, this is Mexico
you-
we're talking about. And I also want to point out, if you haven't seen the movie American Made by Tom Cruise, they've been doing this shit even before Operation Fast Furious. Look
But
up
you-
the
but you-
Contras. They've been doing this shit since for a long time.
You missed the key point of that because she's talking about harm from gun misuse.
Yes.
If I misuse a product, if I jam a curling iron in my eye, and I was being really polite there. You guys got to give me credit. If I do that, I am misusing a product, and the manufacturer has no liability for the misuse of a product.
Because guess what? You're responsible, not them.
Yeah, I mean it's a little different when they were talking about the lawsuits over OxyContin and stuff like that. That's a little different, and they mention that here later. But the major thing is if I use a gun as directed, no innocent people get harmed. I don't blow my own brains out. None of that shit.
Yep. Well, Coop, actually, now you mentioned it. You know how drugs are prescribed and by doctors and stuff, whatnot. They
Yes.
go through the proper channels.
And that
Fuck,
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what was it. There was a doctor or a prescriptionist. Pretty much, he altered the drugs and he actually laced them with fentanyl, and people took the pills and they actually were dying left and right back in the 80s. And they're trying to find him, and they have no source or any whatsoever to find out where he is and prosecute
Yes.
the guy.
Yeah, that dude is going to end up being classified as a serial killer, I believe, because he got off on that. I seriously believe he got off on it. But yeah, they touch on some of that here later. But remember, it's the misuse of the product. If I use something, if I decide to start my car and lay down in front of it, tell my wife to run me over like a speed bump, I'm misusing my car. Ford, again, is not responsible.
Yep. And my point was
The
for the
fact that
drugs.
these,
Yeah.
Yeah, my point also is that, like, he's responsible, not the drug itself. He's responsible for mixing up the drug formulas.
Yeah, he is and we're going to go off on some rabbit trails, but yeah, there was a doctor who, or was it a pharmacist? Maybe a pharmacist.
Pharmacist. Yeah, it was
Who
pharmacist.
he was dealt in cancer drugs. He dealt in a lot of other drugs, but cancer drugs was one of his mainstays. And what he was doing was watering down the cancer drugs. And they proved that, and a lot of people died because they weren't getting proper doses, and then he was liable. But again, it wasn't the manufacturer of the drug, it was the guy who did the BS with it.
guns were all sold in the United States. Is your focus too narrow? Shouldn't we see
Yes.
a broader
All that, Gavin.
relevant conduct
Do I think anything will be
test
done?
here, or am I looking at this incorrectly somehow?
I don't think you're looking at it incorrectly, but there is a different take on it. And that is that step two, this again was very helpful when Abitron recently clarified this. Step two of the two-step inquiry really is applying the presumption against extraterritoriality in a circumstance in which there's some relevant conduct in the United States, but also some relevant conduct abroad. That's the second step.
I'm going to make this
And
quick.
here, what matters, and the other thing is,
So if U.S. gun manufacturers are responsible for harm to Mexico, why aren't those sons of bitches responsible for all the fentanyl that's killing over 100,000 people a year in Mexico or in the United States coming from Mexico? I said, I'm going to make it quick. Just a thought.
you may be tempted to say, well, where's the defendant's conduct? And we say the defendant's conduct is both in the United States and in Mexico, since they're illegally importing these guns in effect into Mexico. But the point is, the focus inquiry asks, where does the relevant conduct, where does the conduct relevant to the focus occur? And it doesn't have to be, and often is not, the defendant's conduct. For example, in the Morrison case, the court concluded that the focus of the Securities and Exchange Act is not where the fraud occurs, but that what the statutes focus on is where does the securities transaction occur. And so it's the defendant's conduct occurred in the United States, but the conduct relevant to the focus, that is the securities transaction, which was not conduct by the.
God, this makes my fucking head.
Did he just
That's
say
a
that?
completely
Did he
different
just say that?
situation. You have two people or two entities colluding in between countries to commit the fraud together. You don't have Smith and Wesson on tape going, yeah, cartel, whoever, yeah, we'll ship you all these guns. Do what the fuck you want with it. Fuck the
Defendants. It was conduct by the victims occurred in Australia. And a similar sort of
It's
thing
how
occurs
outlaw was
in RJR Nabisco, where the defendant's conduct, the wrongful conduct occurred in the United States, but the focus of that provision, the injury, occurred abroad. And that the injury obviously was incurred not by the defendants, but by the victim. So it's the conduct relevant to the focus. And the statute itself defines the claims that are precluded by injury from gun misuse and the conduct relevant to
pause.
both of those elements.
Yeah,
Substantive,
we gotta
the
let it
substantive
play for
elements
2
of the
minutes.
defined claims that are.
Warsaw, we have to swear together. We'll make a pact. We got to go for at least 2 minutes without having our heads explode.
Okay, you want to sue American gun companies. All right, I get that, but okay, where's the logic? Okay, if you have a Mexican cartel member shooting at Americans with a goddamn Chinese full auto AK from a fucking God knows what foreign country they're
Yeah.
getting them from,
Yep.
how are you going to sue them? It's from fucking China.
But see, that's where we're at. It's like the Mexicans coming to America and stealing cars, and they do all the time. They get shipped all over Mexico and wherever. And then I use one of those stolen cars to run someone over. And again, I'm going to use Ford as an example because I like my Fords. Then you sue Ford for the damage someone did with a stolen product that was illegal when they brought it into their country in the first place.
And there's also want to point out there is footage of Mexican cartel members shooting at Americans at the fucking American and Mexican border. I've seen
Yes.
it. It's even on YouTube, dude.
It's
And
it's not hard to find.
It's it's almost laughable if you look a decade ago and there's like literally this American reporter, and here she's getting shot at by fucking two Americans right across the border.
And this is what makes it so painful. And yeah, we'll let this. I'm gonna try like hell to let this play for at least 2 minutes when I start to play it. The Mexico we all know is run by the cartels. They control everything. They put a product into American hands. Now, granted, Americans want the product, but they put a product into American hands that kills over 100,000 people every single year. And it's going to go, last count was like 140,000 a year, something like that. And they move this across the border along with their illegal human traffic for sex trafficking and all the other shit. Well, that leads me down we got to let it play. We got to. If not, we're going to be here for the next week listening to a 40-minute argument.
Concluded occurred in Mexico.
You guys keep
Thank you,
going.
Mr. Shadowin.
11:41. We got to go to at least 11. We'll say 11:44.
Attorney Lowy, please introduce yourself for the record.
May it please the court, Jonathan Lowy, also for the appellant, Government of Mexico. I would like to reserve 2 minutes for rebuttal, Your Honor.
I think you've got, 7 minutes, but you can reserve one.
Thank you, Your Honor. Even if PLACA applies to this case, it does not bar this case because the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act does not protect unlawful commerce in arms. PLACA is clear about this under the predicate exception. The predicate exception has been construed by dozens of courts around the country, federal and state, and every single one of them, except for the district court below, has recognized that the predicate exception disentitles gun companies that knowingly violate gun laws, including federal gun laws, and thereby cause harm. The Ninth Circuit said that the predicate exception has two aspects, and I'm paraphrasing. One, you prove a predicate violation, and two, you prove a viable claim. The district court, without any reasoning, held that the predicate exception only allows for statutory claims. It's totally inconsistent with the text of PLACA, its structure, and its intent. And the sponsor stated repeatedly, specifically, that if you violate federal gun laws, you do not get protected. PLACA also knew how to write an exception that applied specifically to certain claims, and it did so by allowing for actions for negligent entrustment, for example. It did not do so with predicate exception. It allowed for actions in which there's a knowing violation. And the examples in
Let's assume what you just said is correct. What then is the cause of action that would involve the manufacturer knowingly violating a state or federal statute? Could you focus in on that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is it an aiding and abetting theory that the dealer is violating federal and state gun laws and the manufacturer is aiding and abetting that and therefore is equally liable? Is that the theory?
There are two theories, Your Honor. One of them is what you've described. The second one is that the manufacturer's sale of assault weapons that can be easily modified to fire automatically constitute machine guns under an ATF rule.
Okay, I said we would go for at least 2 minutes. We went for at least 2 minutes. Holy fuck me running. If Smith & Wesson has broke federal law. Why is the federal government not the one putting people in jail and arresting them for firearms violations in the United States?
Yep. And also, if it was, okay, say, United States government Colt that's giving them goddamn full auto M4s and M16s, how are they not liable for giving them to the cartels?
Yes. If because see, under PLACA, and he talks about it some there, a gun company has to violate a federal law, because this is a federal law, to be liable for something. And if a gun manufacturer, especially as big as Smith & Wesson, if they break federal law, why isn't the U.S. Department of Justice there trying to arrest people and put them in jail? Why are they not charging them? And what's up, brother Ozzy? I just saw you come in. So yeah, we're gonna try. Let's try 3 minutes this time. So 11:45. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to mention, so I actually have a friend of mine who's he's American, but he's got Mexican through his background and all that. But he told me something I was really amazed by. Mexico, believe it or not, and America's constitutions are one and almost the same. You know why? Because Mexico actually based their own constitution like ours. The only problem was they didn't keep checks and balances in their constitution and their own federal and local state governments. So you see what the cartels and literally just run rampant and take it over.
I'd have to look at the history on that, but there are a lot of countries that have basically copied a lot of provisions in our constitution. But like you say, there wasn't the checks and balances built into it, even though ours have gone to shit, obviously. But we're gonna try to go for 3 minutes. Let's see, it's 40. Let's try to go till 4 minutes. Let's try to go to 11:50 without having to fucking
Let's
stop.
just hit it until we hit a nerve.
82-8.
Oh,
And that is a violation of federal law and a predicate violation. And I would point your honors to 4 cases, which I think resolve all of these liability issues. Number 1, Smith & Wesson v. Gary, 875 Northeast 2nd, 422. Indiana Court of Appeals construed very similar allegations about negligent distribution practices of these defendants and found that those allegations supported predicate violations in that case of state laws, but no real distinction between the federal laws, and a violation of Indiana's public nuisance statute. And because of that predicate violation, the court held that the defendants were not protected under PLACA. So the court allowed for negligence claim, public nuisance claim, and others. Same thing should apply here. 2, direct sales versus United States. United States Supreme Court upheld a criminal conspiracy conviction of a drug manufacturer for conduct very similar to the defendants, and the court stated at length that when you're dealing with a restricted product, in that like machine guns or drugs, the standard of proof of knowledge and intent is far lower than with other products.
But you keep
Pause.
mentioning machine guns.
No, we can't pause.
These
We gotta-
manufacturers,
No, but exactly why is this
distributor,
bad?
not machine guns.
Exactly
There's-
why is this
They are modified by, and we see it here in this court and the district
Got to
court.
try to 11.
People modify, these items, but
Trust me,
that can happen to any other lawful object and can be modified. So
Bing, bing,
what's
bing,
the theory
bing.
for the machine gun
yeah.
and making these defendants liable?
Well, for one, the distribution theory accepted by direct sales and Smith & Wesson v. Gary applies even if these aren't machine guns. So, however, there's the second theory, which is that defendants know that the way they design the guns can make them easily modifiable to fire automatically. They don't have to make them that way. They choose to make them that way. And ATF ruling 82-8 says that if you have a easily modifiable gun that can be easily modified to fire automatically, that constitutes machine gun. And that gets me to the third case that I would refer the court to, which is Parsons v. Colts. Federal District Court in Nevada considered very similar allegations about the modifiability of assault weapons into machine guns, and the court found those allegations make out a violation of law and a predicate violation, and therefore the court allowed common law wrongful death claim to proceed. And the fourth case I would point your honors to is City of Boston versus Smith & Wesson, which is before PLACA, but in that case, Judge Hinkle considered very similar allegations brought by the City of Boston, and Judge Hinkle explained at length how those allegations support negligence claim under Massachusetts law, proximate cause, and duty, and that opinion pretty much rebuts all of defendants' arguments on proximate cause and duty, and makes clear that there is a underlying viable claim here that's been alleged.
Come on.
You talking about duty, obviously here, we have the second.
Okay. Warsaw, would you like to start this particular rant? Because I got plenty.
I just find it funny that Mexico thinks it has the balls to sue America's gun companies and everything, because the same shit here is not just in Mexico, by the way. You know what also has been affected in this? Think of another country that's right next to us.
Those Canucks.
Yep, and guess what? You got guns smuggling across their border as well as ours, and guess what? They're all gangs, and the Canadian populace, it's not affected by that. They're being stomped on by their own local government because they think it's their fault. Nope, it's actually the local gangs that have ruined every one of them fucking livelihoods.
Here's a couple things with that. With this argument, okay. One is this whole idea, and this is going to come up more in American courts, fed by Brady and Everytown and all that. The idea that these firearms are manufactured in a way that makes them too easy to modify into full autos. That's what he was just talking about. Now, any firearm that I can operate semi-automatically doesn't take a whole lot of work to make it go full auto. It doesn't. It may be a really shitty full auto. It could blow up in my face. But it doesn't take a whole lot of work to do that. Yep. And that is an argument that is already come up. It came up in the Seventh Circuit arguments, talking about ARs and a couple of others. But again, it comes down to this freaking. We need to let it play.
Let's let it
play. I'm calming down during the stream. It ain't happening. All right, we're gonna try to go till 12, Warsaw. So like, take a Valium.
An amendment that applies in the United States. Obviously, perhaps in Mexico, other places it doesn't apply. But even with that fact and the fact that individuals are entitled to purchase and have weapons and bear arms, does that still allow you to for purposes of duty, where's the duty violated in light of the Second Amendment?
Well, Your Honor, I don't think any court has held that there is some Second Amendment right to negligently or certainly not illegally sell and make guns. So the Second Amendment, in my view, is a non-issue, and the duty here is the basic duty under Mexican law or Massachusetts law, which is basically to not engage in conduct such as selling guns to the general public in a way that fails to use reasonable care to prevent foreseeable injury to others. And there's absolutely no authority that duty stops at the border. If it did, that would mean that the CEO of a gun manufacturer could call up a cartel boss, arrange how to illegally traffic guns together, and do it, and there'd be no duty. By the way, also under the district court's reading of PLACA, there would be immunity for that manufacturer.
You got to go
because
to
there is no statutory right of action under the Gun Control Act.
And let me ask you, because you're asking that Massachusetts law, you look to Mexico law. So even if Massachusetts law per se would not have a cause of action, federal law wouldn't have, you're still saying that applying Mexico law in the U.S. court would give you that cause of action, correct?
TV.
Our first argument is that Mexican law applies. And we have proven and it's unrebutted by the defendants that we have a cause of action under Mexican law. However, if the court rejects that and applies Massachusetts law, we certainly have a cause of action, and City of Boston versus Smith & Wesson, it makes that clear.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lowy.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm serious, guys. Take your carry, put it out of arm's reach. At least have to bend over to get it. I'm not responsible for computers that get shot.
Attorney Francisco,
Nah.
please introduce yourself for the record.
Thank you, Judge Kayada. May it please the court. Noel Francisco for Smith & Wesson. I will be presenting argument on behalf of all of the defendants
Smith
this
and
morning.
Wesson's guy. I know he just said.
Your Honors, the statute's focus is the object of its solicitude, the interests it seeks to protect, and the conduct it seeks to regulate. Here, PLACA protects the U.S. firearms industry by prohibiting lawsuits in U.S. courts. Indeed, that is the only conduct that it regulates. So this is a purely domestic application of law, no different than applying Article 3's injury in fact requirement or Section 1332's amount in controversy requirement to this case, both of which are satisfied by Mexico's injuries in Mexico. The only question then is whether Mexico's lawsuit satisfies the predicate exception, and it doesn't for three reasons. First, Mexico hasn't adequately alleged any violation of U.S. law, not aiding and abetting liability under Twitter, not the machine gun ban under the Supreme Court's decision in Naples and this court's decision in Nieves Castro. And even if they had, they haven't adequately alleged proximate cause under the Third Circuit's decision in City of Philadelphia against Beretta.
Don't they allege that the dealers engage in sales that are flatly violative of various U.S. laws?
They allege that there are retailers that violate
Right.
U.S. law.
So
But
they
the
are alleging.
retailers aren't the defendants here.
Well, but step one is to show there's some allegation of a violation of U.S.
All
law.
right.
Right.
It does seem to say, as I read the complaint, it does seem to say that what you call the retailers are violating U.S. law, point one.
Sit down. We got to go.
Now, you raised the point, but that's not the defendants.
Right.
It seems the complaint then acknowledges that, at least on one of their theories, but then says the defendants are aiding and abetting those violations. And under federal law, one who aids and abets a violation of federal law is as liable as the principal.
Right.
So the logic would therefore be that the manufacturers, by aiding and abetting clear-cut violations of federal law and state law, are themselves as liable as the principal retailer.
Sure, I understand the theory, but
What's
if you,
wrong with
but
that
if you were to
theory?
accept that theory, you would have
It wouldn't
expanded aiding and abetting liability well beyond anything ever recognized, to the
Thank you,
detriment
so
not
I
just
wasn't
of these
ever a lawyer.
defendants, but all criminal defendants.
And could you
throughout
explain
the
why that
country.
is?
Of course, because the Supreme Court's recent decision in Twitter makes quite clear,
Keep
walks
track of
through
this shit in
these
court.
principles that that you don't come close to establishing aiding and abetting liability if all a defendant does is generally make their products available and then stand back and are largely indifferent to what happens down the road. This is actually an easier case than Twitter. See, Twitter, the complaints alleged that the social media companies were dealing directly with the terrorist organizations. In fact, there was an allegation that Google reviewed and approved terrorist content and shared the profits with the terrorists. But the Supreme Court held that that still wasn't good enough because it didn't show the type of joint purpose and affirmative conduct that aiding and abetting liability required.
So how do you distinguish direct sales?
I think that's very easy to distinguish, Your Honor. That is a case where you had a morphine manufacturer that was selling directly to a doctor in such massive and unusually large quantities that there was no possible lawful explanation. Here, the defendants don't sell directly to anyone. You've got lawful manufacturers that sell to lawful distributors that in turn sell to lawful retailers and on down the chain.
But the allegation is that, sure, there's now, unlike direct sales,
I know.
the manufacturers have interposed another
Mhm.
intermediary in the distribution chain. But the allegation is still there, as in direct sales, that the manufacturer knows what the retailers are doing.
And that is
No.
precisely what the
No.
Supreme Court in Twitter rejected.
No, we got-
That mere knowledge that somewhere down the chain, somebody is going to use your product to engage in some illegal activity is not enough to satisfy aiding and abetting liability. In small, you arguably had that kind of joint purpose because they were directly selling to a particular doctor in massive and unusual quantities. Here, Mexico concedes that the vast majority of retailers are totally law-abiding. They concede that only 2% of all American firearms find their way into Mexico. They don't allege that the defendants sell to anybody that they know or have reason to know are going to use those firearms to commit a crime. And they don't allege that the end users, any particular retailers, any particular cartels are subject to any kind of specialized treatment. Instead, as in Twitter, the most that you can say is they make these things generally available and then at worst stand back and are indifferent to what happens afterwards.
So suppose they know there's dealer X, retailer X on the border with Mexico, and that it's
Okay, Warsaw, I know you're I know you're fucking prime. What you got?
If I was talking to this judge, man, I'd just give him the straight facts. All right, it's a crime if you're an FFL dealer and you're selling to a known criminal entity right in front of you. That's a federal violation.
Yes.
If you're selling to another person who's a person that is claiming he has committed a crime and he's a straw purchaser selling to a criminal organization, that is a crime.
Yes.
And they lose their license the moment they do that, and they get investigated by the ATF and the feds.
Yes. And what note did I make right there? Okay, one, the ATF rule they talked about guns being too readily convertible. That's an ATF rule. That's not a fucking law because there's no law that covers that because Congress is morons and they try to regulate guns in the first place. What was the other one I wrote? Ford drive-bys. Yeah. If I use again, I'm gonna beat Ford to death tonight. If I buy a Ford and I use that bitch in a drive-by, and Ford knows their cars get used in drive-bys, but they sell them legally to dealers who sell them to distributors or distributors that sell them to dealers. And those products are legally sold. They are the manufacturer. They are not fucking responsible for what the end user does with them. Holy.
This just the. I thank God I'm not a lawyer and I'm getting paid for a lot of money doing
Thank God
this shit.
I'm not a judge because if they brought this shit to me, my opinion would probably be some of the funniest shit you've ever heard in your life. Because I would have went into dildos and all kinds of shit. I'd be, and my final opinion on it would just be, you guys have to be fucking absolutely brain dead. You have to be.
Or you put a bunch of pebbleized rocks in a blender, you blend all those goddamn pebbles, and you just drinking all that shit.
Oh, dude. What was it? My uncle, one of my old uncles, he passed years ago, but he was messing with me one day, and I did something. He said, "Boy, your brain rolling down the edge of a razor blade is like a BB rolling down a 4-lane highway." And that is just, yep. That would be part of my opinion. Your brain roll. All right. So we're gonna try like hell to go to what is this 1202. We're gonna try to go to 1218 without blowing apart. I know, dude. Trust me. This is like edging, and if you know what that
dude,
is,
no, this is not even close, dude. This is like jumping on a thumbtack on your foot.
Yeah.
it's ordering huge quantities of guns, and they know that those guns are being sold to cartel members. Okay, if you assume arguendo that those are the facts, are you saying that wouldn't be enough for aiding and abetting liability?
Well, Your Honor, I think if those were the facts alleged, I would still be saying that that's not enough. But here, there's no allegation.
But why stay with why isn't that enough?
Sure, because again, unless you've got some kind of allegation that particular retailers are being treated any differently in their business models, it falls foursquare under Twitter, where again, the social media companies were alleged to have known that terrorists were using their platforms.
Remember,
one of them was alleged to have actually reviewed and approved the content and shared in the profits. But the court said that even if you know that lots of people are going to do bad things with your product, Unless you're treating them differently than everyone else, that doesn't show the type of joint purpose and affirmative conduct that aiding and abetting liability requires. The other point I'd add, though, Your Honor, and I actually think this may be the easiest way to resolve this case, is even if you disagree with me on aiding and abetting liability, I'm happy to continue on this as long as you want. But even if you disagree with me on aiding and abetting liability, they still haven't come close to showing proximate cause. And I point you directly to the Third Circuit's decision in the Philadelphia against Beretta case. That was an opinion joined by then Judge Alito and current Judge Ambrose, and it rejected a complaint at the motion to dismiss stage that's virtually identical to this one, where Philadelphia sought to hold a group of manufacturers liable for injury caused by the misuse of firearms in Philadelphia. With respect, this case is actually even easier and easier than the other cases my friend cited, because we have a chain of causation that reaches well beyond the United States and into a foreign country. You have licensed manufacturers that sell to licensed distributors that sell to licensed.
Jova, I can't remember how many streams you've been to like this, but welcome to hell. Again, whatever is close to you, you don't have to unload it. Just put it out of arm's reach. That way it's not an easy, like 1 second draw. I'm not responsible for TVs, computers, anything to get shot. Not. Because this is fucking painful.
Oh, Coop, also want to point out one more thing real quick. They're also trying to sue Barrett Arms because of all the fucking 50 cows they're claiming are causing all their ham. And I'm like, bro, it's still the same concept. This guy is exactly speaking in court. We're not liable.
And again, and just because we stop it here, okay, so I create a product for firearm, whatever. My product is created to target, shoot, self-defense, anything like that. I've never seen a firearms manufacturer, and getting to their argument, like Smith & Wesson is the only one used and shit like this. I've never seen a firearms manufacturer's ad that said, hey, this will kill all the innocent motherfuckers you ever wanted to kill as fast as you can. Yeah, my wife, she's going to choke me. But yeah, let's get back to this because this is
retailers that sell to individuals who satisfy the requirements of federal law, but some of whom happen to be straw purchasers.
The same thing could be said of a pharmacist in West Virginia who's selling OxyContin in huge quantities.
Your Honor, I think it is two responses. One, there are courts that have rejected proximate cause in that context, including the West Virginia court. Two, that is a much tighter chain of causation because there the pharmacists are actually selling directly to the end users. That's the chain of distribution. And three, all of those issues are currently on appeal. But here the chain goes well beyond the consumers because the initial purchaser then hands it off to a smuggler. The smuggler smuggles it across an international border, hands it to a foreign criminal organization that uses it to commit crimes in a foreign country that injure foreign citizens and in turn flow up into damages to a foreign government. On top of all of that, you've gotten multiple criminal intervening acts. You've got derivative injuries from third parties, and it's virtually impossible to allocate injury and liability across the numerous victims and alleged wrongdoers in this long chain of events. Respectfully, this is a poster child for the absence of proximate cause. It falls four square under the Third Circuit's decision in Philadelphia.
Let me ask you, mention was made about machine guns. These weapons can be easily modified. And of course, they're not manufactured to be machine guns, but knowing that they can be readily modified, wouldn't that be a possible basis of liability and taking it out of the placa?
No, Your Honor. And I would point you directly to this court's binding decision in Nevis Castro. I'm quoting, while an automatic weapon meets the definition of a machine gun, a semi-automatic weapon, in that case it involved an AK-47, does not. 480 F3rd at 600, citing the Supreme Court's decision in Staples. And that's because these are not designed to be machine guns, and they can't be made into machine guns unless they are first modified into machine guns.
But it's very easy to modify. Anybody, and we get
two more minutes.
Just getting a chip or doesn't that? And again, in general tort law, you go back to everybody's law school days. There's cases where normally manufactured, product is, there's the
Yeah.
modification and then there's the liability.
Yeah, it's not a machine gun simply because it can be modified into a machine gun. That's precisely what this court held in Nevis Castro. It either has to be designed as a machine gun, which this isn't, or it has to be capable of being restored into a machine gun. And you can't restore something into a condition that it never occupied in the first place. Otherwise, the federal government has been ignoring rampant violations of the machine gun ban for decades. You will have converted
Suppose it's not a machine gun, okay, but suppose in discovery, the evidence shows there's a meeting at one of the manufacturers, and the subject of the meeting is, how do we design this so it can be most easily converted into a machine gun?
Because
If that evidence, and I'm not saying that evidence exists, but for purpose of a hypothetical, if that evidence exists, are you saying there'd be no liability for the manufacturer for intentionally having tried to make sure the gun could be converted to a machine gun as easily as possible?
Sure, Yarn, and two responses. First, that's not this case, but I will put that to the side. Secondly, no, it's still not a machine gun. If it was not originally designed as a machine gun, it's not a machine gun. And you cannot restore something to a position it never occupied in the first place. But in any event, if you were...
I said till 12:10. Warsaw, take a swing.
Woman, that's already a law. It's under the NFA. The moment you alter or make something that's not what it's supposed to be, you committed a 10-year federal felony right there in your hands.
Yes. And I'm not going to read the whole text of the thing right now. But basically, if it was designed as a machine gun, if it's built on that same receiver, it is a machine gun. If I take something that was never designed as a machine gun, a regular high shelf AR receiver, and I turn it into a machine gun, that's not the manufacturer's deal. It's what I modified it to. If I take your standard S10 Chevy, I'm going to pick on Chevy right now, and I jack that bitch up, put it on goddamn 55-inch tires, it was never designed to go on 55-inch fucking tires.
Yep. Or how about, like, say, pick off a surplus SKS of some variant, and I did something inside the receiver or the trigger mechanism, and I made that thing full auto, then I'm liable, not the gun itself.
Yes. It's maddening listening to this stuff, but these arguments are going to come back around in U.S. courts. You will hear them funded by Brady, from Everytown, from Bloomberg. And remember, what's the definition of readily convertible?
Was it how many times in a machine shop?
8 hours in a fully staffed machine shop is the ATF's version of readily convertible. In 8 hours, I could, with a fully staffed machine shop, melt these down into a ingot, and I could make a machine gun.
Coop, I could think of God. Oh, in Europe, you heard of the Blitzewitzka?
No, you got me on that one.
It was a Polish version of the Sten gun. They pretty much, during occupied Nazi Germany, which occupied Poland back in that time period, what they did, the Poles literally had a Polish underground making these goddamn Sten guns, and they just said, fuck you guys, we're just going to make these arms, and you're not going to fucking know about it.
I might get...
Yeah, the Blitzewitzka. Polish Sten gun.
Yeah, it's... Oh, God, I got to find...
And this, you know what the best part about this thing?
Hold on.
The springs that made this thing function were actually from a spring from a bed, dude.
I'm fixing to I'll have to add this into the description because...
Yeah, the Polish Home Army, 1944.
Well, this is something completely different. It's because BV mentioned it. So let me do something real fast because I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to. Oh, fuck it. We're just running it raw. Because
no lube, no nothing.
No lube. We're just running it. Let me share this. Oh, did I not hit the sound? We're gonna have to watch it twice if I didn't hit the sound.
Fucking ranger and shit, but you ain't no fucking Ford fucking ranger.
Oh, god damn it.
Ford ranger, I know this truck. I ain't no stranger. I know that truck. That's a Ford fucking ranger. Fucking ranger and shit, but you ain't no fucking Ford fucking ranger. Ford ranger, I know
This truck's like
truck.
completely
I ain't
loaded
no
down.
stranger. I know that truck. That's a
Ford
Ford fucking
fucking
ranger.
Ranger. Yeah.
Fucking ranger and shit. But you ain't
We
no
had
fucking
to because
Ford
BV said it, so blame him for that little side track. Because yeah. Hold on, let me get Warsaw back in here, and then we're gonna put this back on the stream.
But the point is criminal intent.
Yeah. Well,
It's morals. You
it-
cannot legislate or regulate morality, no matter
There's-
how many fucking times we keep telling
Well,
you.
you have to listen to some of the arguments they're making. One, if I manufacture a completely legal product that is made for a legal purpose that people use every day, the only thing that matters to the state side of this, and understand the United States DOJ is supporting this lawsuit from Mexico. The only thing that matters is that it was used criminally. So if I get a fork and I stab someone in the fucking eye, apparently I'm down to sports. And when I use that to scoop someone's eye out, well, I'm down to fucking, I don't know, a regular spoon. And then when I sharpen that bitch up and shank somebody with it, I'm down to just, I don't know, popsicle sticks at that point. And that's where this is going.
All
And
right.
it's maddening. It is absolutely maddening to see people that don't understand the fight that they're in, and they don't understand just how screwy this is.
To disagree with me, not only has the federal government been derelict in its duty by not enforcing the law for decades, you've converted not just these defendants into felons, but all of the millions of Americans who currently possess these firearms. The AR-15 is one of the most popular rifles in America. And this whole debate that we've been having over the assault weapons ban, the expiration of the old,
I'm going to back that up just a little bit, because
precisely what this court held in Nevis County.
Because what he's saying right there, and this is an argument that's already being made in the U.S. courts. It's been cited in a bunch of cases that AR-15s and other semi-automatics are too readily restorable, which they were never restorable because they've never been full automatics. But it would basically be that, hey, if you can make this gun fire more than one round with a single function of the trigger, then that gun's illegal. That functionally takes every semi-automatic and makes it illegal. And that's what the government has argued here. And again, you're dealing with two American lawyers. You're dealing with our court system, judges, which is why we still need to have that conversation about getting Jim Jordan on board. Not that I got contacts and I get Jim Jordan down here. But yeah, this argument is embedded in this anti-gun shit right now.
Astro. It either has to be designed as a machine gun, which this isn't, or it has to be capable of being restored into a machine gun. And you can't restore something into a condition that it never occupied in the first place. Otherwise, the federal government has been ignoring rampant violations of the machine gun ban for decades. You will have converted
Suppose it's not a machine gun, okay, but suppose in discovery, the evidence shows there's a meeting at one of the manufacturers, and the subject of the meeting is, how do we design this so it can be most easily converted into a machine gun? Would you, if that evidence, and I'm not saying that evidence exists, but for the purpose of a hypothetical, if that evidence exists, are you saying there'd be no liability for the manufacturer for intentionally having tried to make sure the gun could be converted to a machine gun as easily as possible?
Sure, Yarn, and two responses. First, that's not this case, but I will put that to the side. Secondly, no, it's still not a machine gun. If it was not originally designed as a machine gun, it's not a machine gun. You cannot restore something to a position it never occupied in the first place. But in any event, if you were to disagree with me, not only has the federal government been derelict in its duty by not enforcing the law for decades, you've converted not just these defendants into felons, but all of the millions of Americans who currently possess these firearms. The AR-15 is one of the most popular rifles in America. And this whole debate that we've been having over the assault weapons ban, the expiration of the old one, and whether to adopt a new one is totally irrelevant, because lo and behold, the very same weapons are already banned by the machine gun ban. At the very least, our position would be compelled by the rule of lenity, since this is, after all, a criminal statute. So I don't think it's even a close call on the machine gun ban. To me, the real questions are aiding and abetting liability. I think that's squarely governed by the Twitter case, and proximate cause, which is squarely governed by Philadelphia against Beretta, which is on all
Proximate
fours with
cause,
this case.
there's a whole array of different damage theories, and some of them are more attenuated or have more causal chains in them.
Fucking thank
But some of them seem a bit more directly proactive steps that the government alleges it was required to take because of the import of these products. How, I mean, suppose they
Let me stop old and crusty right there, and I'm gonna make myself big on this screen for a second. Hold on, let me find the right button. It's kind of like finding other things. So this polymer 80 frame built out, and the rear of the cruciform right here, that little cross looking piece. If I build a polymer 80 and I check it and function check it, and that cruciform isn't making the proper engagement with the sear surfaces on the slide and everything, that gun will run full auto. This polymer 80 with stock parts, no selector, all that shit, was never meant to run full auto. I could recreate that by some testing and a little bending, and I could make this gun full auto. How do I know? I've fixed that for people that built polymer 80s, and the tolerances on polymer 80s are a little bit off. I love them. They're great. This is my everyday carry. I carry that every day. That's a gun that I built. But if you play with the tolerances, YouTube, this is a fucking frame, you douchebags. Don't stop my stream. That's a frame. If I play with that rear, that cruciform, I can get that gun to run full auto and be dependable full auto. Not as dependable as in a selector, but I can get it to run that way. That gun wasn't intended to run that way. So it's not a machine gun. That's a fucking malfunction. And what this old crusty cunt is arguing is if a gun has a malfunction, and check out John Crump with the, what was he? It was the smallest machine gun. It was about a piece of metal getting caught in an action and causing a gun to run full auto, and the ATF charging people with it. That's not how this works, you dumbasses. If it is a machine gun, it was designed and intended to be a machine gun. It can be any number of different operating systems, but it is designed and intended to be a machine gun. If you redesign that and you make it semi-auto, well, guess what? It is designed and intended to be semi-auto because our dumbass gun laws. Warsaw?
Yep. All right. If you
I
want
know
to
you got
fuck this woman that's thinking radically easily convertible shit, tell that to all the fucking gangbangers in every goddamn big ass city you could think of.
Yeah.
That has a goddamn scratched off serial number on a Glock and has a fucking Chinese auto sear fucking sold up God knows where.
And see, and this is an argument that I've taken up on YouTube before. Okay, I'm surprised they didn't shut the stream down on me showing something that's gun shaped, because they've done it before. I showed off one on the stream. They shut that bitch down in seconds.
Oh, how about that welded sign right behind you?
Oh yeah, it's
the one with the no gun sign.
Mm-hmm. If YouTube algorithms can find that merely by a visual on a screen within seconds, how can they not identify these guys, kids, because these are young kids in cities like Chicago and other places that are shooting Instagram videos and all this shit of their full faces with them holding full auto Glocks and shooting them up in the air or committing drive-bys. And here's my other point behind that. Well, it's kind of with it. If you can shut down my stream because I showed a gun-shaped object, but you can't file child porn on your platform, I submit to you that you're not worried about child porn. Yeah, that might hurt me later. But yeah. So what did BB say? I had YouTube try telling me I can't cyberbully. Yeah. Okay. I just want to obviously can, especially. I gotta put that one up. I got to. Yep. BV. Yep. And let's let this argument run out a little longer.
Products. How, I mean, suppose they needed to increase their border guards to intercept these. Are you saying that wouldn't have been proximately caused by the very violation of the retailers?
Absolutely, Your Honor, I would say that, because you still start with licensed manufacturers to licensed distributors to licensed retailers to straw purchasers to smugglers
No, but I'm
who then
starting
smuggle
just-
across the border.
Just focus on the retailer.
Yeah.
Claim against the retailer.
You know, if it had a claim directly against a retailer that was alleged to have engaged in that conduct,
Yes.
none of which are part of this complaint, you know, I think the analysis would at least be different. If I were representing them, I would still be making a proximate cause argument. It would be a more difficult one than I'm making here.
Well, then if that is correct, then you're really dependent not on a proximate cause argument, but on Twitter. Because if the retailer could be held to have proximately caused damages and aiding and abetting violation is tenable here, theory, then you've got the connection.
I don't think so, Your Honor. I agree that the analysis is somewhat related, but you still need to show proximate cause between the actions that the defendant engaged in and the injury that is ultimately found. And I really do think that Philadelphia against Beretta is on all fours with this case, a very well-reasoned decision joined by two very highly regarded federal judges in this country who generally have otherwise different approaches to the law, came to agreement on this case and said it wasn't anywhere close to establishing proximate cause. But even if you thought that the two were somehow related, proximate cause and Twitter, you know, we still win because I think we're right under Twitter and we're right under proximate cause. Twitter is a much easier case than this one. If there was no aiding and abetting liability in Twitter, then there sure is no aiding and abetting liability here, where there is no evidence that there's any kind of joint purpose between the manufacturers and the one distributor here on the one hand, and the harms that the alleged violations of law on the other. Not a shred of evidence that there's some kind of joint purpose that they want to make it succeed as their own. There was far more evidence of that in Twitter than there is in this case. And I would emphasize that that kind of ruling on aiding and abetting liability would have dramatic implications well beyond this case to all defendants who are charged with any form of aiding and abetting liability throughout this country, because you would have adopted a theory that pushes the bounds of aiding and abetting liability well beyond where it's ever gone. And direct sales isn't even closely on point, because
They do say that the marketing was designed and some of the product design decisions were designed precisely to aid and abet the retailers and having an attractive product for the cartel.
Well, a couple of points. The district court rejected their marketing theory on the merits under state law, and they haven't appealed that issue. You actually look at the complaint. There's no allegation that the defendant's the defendant's marketing is not in any way false. It's actually technically true. It's accurate. It states exactly what the firearms do. And I don't think you could possibly establish proximate cause between the marketing and any alleged violations. They don't even allege that the violators saw the marketing or you know, particularly the end individuals who were charged with inflicting injury on Mexico. There's no allegation that they even saw the marketing material. So I don't know how you could possibly satisfy proximate cause on that theory, which is probably why it's not an argument that they're strongly pressing on this appeal. Here, though, I think it is quite clear that PLACA applies. They haven't adequately alleged any violation of law, not aiding, abetting, not the machine gun ban. And even if they had, I think this case is on all fours with the Third Circuit's decision in City of Philadelphia against Beretta.
Let me ask you, in your client's views, or all the defendants' views, are there any Second Amendment implications in this analysis?
Oh, I sure think that there are Second Amendment implications in this analysis, because you're talking about a lawsuit that has potentially crippling effects on the ability of individual firearms owners to obtain firearms. They're also asking you to apply Mexican law to the regulation of U.S. firearms in this country. And while I agree with my friend that the choice of law analysis is totally irrelevant here, we win no matter how you resolve the choice of law analysis, I would emphasize that they are completely wrong on the choice of law question. They concede that the only reason they filed this lawsuit in the United States is because they want an injunction regulating the manufacture and sale of firearms in this country. Well, obviously, the United States and its constituent states have the greatest interest in how firearms are made and sold in this country. Otherwise, that manufacture and sale wouldn't be just governed by
Warsaw?
No, I
You don't
agree.
even know where to start, do you?
No, I agree with this guy speaking for on behalf of the plaintiffs because, my
Yes.
God, man, this female judge, man, I tell you,
Dude, if she is this flexible in real life, she could stick her head up her own ass and turn herself inside out.
the only place I think this woman is from either New York or is from God knows elsewhere, New Jersey.
Hold on, while you say that, let me look at something, because this isn't there. This is a
No, but I'm just betting that I'm just guessing where she's from.
Yeah, she could be. Yeah, you're right. She could have moved from there. And I have to look it up, and I'll look it up sometime, and show it on, which districts cover which states. But yeah, she would be a giant walking colon, because she could stick her head up her ass, and it would be. Have you ever seen the videos of someone blowing up a giant condom and getting inside of it and walking around?
Yeah.
This is this chick with her colon. She's that fucking flexible.
And like he was just saying, they're trying to apply Mexican law in the United States, which is an abomination from the get-go.
Well, again, you're dealing with a situation, he brought it up, where you have a manufacturer, Smith & Wesson, underneath whatever names they're running, who sells to a distributor. The distributor sells to a dealer, and then the dealer can, in some cases, when they're forced by the ATF, they can sell to people that are illegal to own firearms. In most cases, you have guns that are stolen, you have strong purchasers, you have all this other bullshit. It is not the head of whoever is in head of Smith & Wesson right now calling up the head cartel big dog and going, hey, brother, I'll send you, 900 whatevers if you'll send me a pound of coke.
I mean,
if you can prove that, then yeah, you have a case. If you can't prove that, you should be laughed out of court. They should give you a fucking clown suit with big ass shoes and a honky ass nose that you have to wear out of court in the fucking media, and they should videotape you and fucking mock you relentlessly at that point. Sorry. Another way. You guys signed on for it. That's all I gotta say.
No, but the whole concept of Twitter, people, if somebody was doing it on Twitter, dude, they would get flagged. Most definitely.
Look,
but no,
Twitter, and this is a serious case. Twitter has known they have pornography on their site forever. They know they have child pornography on their site. And I'll have to bring up the case because Twitter, and it didn't go to the Supremes, but it was in a district court where Twitter was defending having child porn on their site. They were told about it. They were showed the videos. Everything was linked, and Twitter still argued that they didn't have a duty to take that off of their site. So fuck Twitter. Don't use them as an example because they There are wood
No.
chippers that need to be involved in this fucking equation.
I can make another example. Like, you'll follow Louder Crowder, Steven Crowder.
Yeah, yeah.
A couple months ago, he actually brought this up to my attention. I'm like, what the fuck? And sure enough, there was actually Pornhub. The directors from Pornhub and shit were actually making people as adults, cosplaying as children and shit. And they're like,
Yeah.
Are you guys out of your fucking mind doing all this weird ass shit involving children and shit?
Look,
And Pornhub got
you-
flagged for that, and they got involved.
You posted it, or someone else. I know you talked about it. Someone else posted in the chat. Twitter or Crowder and his investigative crew found some chick from BlackRock who is involved in this kiddie site.
Yeah.
I can't.
Rapey SU. Yeah.
Yes, but I guarantee you nothing will happen to her. Although the other, because they've changed, from what I understand, they've changed names and sites a few times because some of the original people running that site are in prison now.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you this chick working for BlackRock,
Might be Epstein, maybe Epstein high elites.
it's big.
No.
But I'll guarantee you the media.
One more thing. One more thing. As far as the Twitter thing, there was what was that website? Not Twitter. Craigslist. Craigslist had a lot of shady ass shit going on these days. If you actually look up the horror stories on YouTube about Craigslist, you'd be
I've
amazed.
seen a lot of them. YouTube has a bunch of YouTube has a bunch of child shit on their platform. I haven't looked. I've seen sources that done stories. They're credible, and they can't seem to find it. But if I show a firearm on stream, they shut me down. That tells you where YouTube is at on the scale of, hey, this is legal. This isn't it. No, I got.
The tort laws of Mexico, they'd be governed by the tort laws of every country in the world, including countries like Russia and China, who could easily cobble together a complaint that's no different than the one that Mexico has filed here.
You mentioned the issue of the injunction, and let me say this is a case that was brought in the District of Massachusetts. So assuming
this was brought
we were
Massachusetts.
to reverse the district court and the district court would impose an injunction, that's not a universal injunction. It would only apply to Massachusetts at this time. Am I correct?
Your Honor, I think that's an issue to be decided on remand. I think that, we would argue that it be applied narrowly. Generally, an injunction applies to the party before the court, though. So I'm not sure what the answer to that question is.
One more quick
Fire, yeah,
question.
you're right.
Mexico has a page-long footnote that cites a bunch of trial court decisions that take the position that once there is a predicate violation, there can be civil liability. And
Got 1, 2, 3,
you mentioned those
It's gonna be
cases in your
worse.
brief, and you say they're unpersuasive. I'm wondering if you could just take me quickly through your argument.
Sure, absolutely. The first point I would make is it doesn't matter. Because even if you think that one aspect of Judge Saylor's opinion was wrong, they still haven't alleged any violation of any federal or state firearm statute adequately alleged. And even if they have, they still haven't adequately alleged.
Because Warsaw said that, and I got to let
Secondly, as to those,
because Warsaw said that, I got to let this play. Well, in a second. So if you had an American company producing products illegally, and they were shipping them to Mexico for the express purposes of harming the people of Mexico, then Mexico would have a standing in the courts.
Or
But this is not. This is a legal product produced in America for American citizens, and then they're trafficked to Mexico. And this is a distinction because Mexico, their government, knows that fentanyl kills people like you wouldn't believe, and they still allow that to be shipped into their country, and they still make deals with cartels to illegally bring that into the United States. So it's an illegal process all the way for fentanyl, but you're taking something in the United States that is completely legal through a completely legal process until there are criminal acts that bring it into Mexico. Those are fucking two different goddamn things. So we would have a way better legal case, really, to go against the government of Mexico, because we could prove that Mexico's run by cartels.
How about this? Let's not look at America from Mexico's standpoint. How about, say, all right, you remember Victor Boot, Lord of War?
Yes, yes.
All right, let's look at the standpoint through Russia and Africa. Selling full auto Soviet era AKMs and AK-47 supply weapons, RPG-7s, you name it. He gave it to the African warlords, and they were using them to slaughter massive villages. Now that I could see,
Yes.
because Africa
'Cause
is saying that you still gave them arms of fucking weaponry.
There's a lot of intent built into what he was doing. American gun manufacturers actually intend to sell legal products to law-abiding citizens. Unless you can catch, and there's a what they call mens rea involved in some of this. Unless you could catch the owner, runner, whatever, of Smith and Wesson going, holy fuck, we need to put more guns in their hands so they can kill more innocent people. Unless you can catch that, showing intent. Now, granted, you still have to go to a trial because you could see the transcript of something and he's making a joke and they only show one line of the text. In other words, the full text of what he's saying is these goddamn people actually believe we want to sell guns to kill more innocent people, but you only use the guns to kill innocent people of it. You know, that's where it comes into trial and stuff like that. The Mexican cartels, we can prove that they run Mexico, period. It would be very easy to prove. Hey, Mexico, you go enforce a jaywalking infraction in that town. I'm sorry, they'd get shot up with fucking Barrett 50s and all kinds of shit. Is it fucking all right, we can let the rest of this play because we got some more pain coming after this just because I got a couple more beers and I'm a fucking masochist, I swear to God.
Decisions, and all of this goes to whether a statutory predicate violation has to be a statute that itself creates a cause of action. If you actually read those decisions, Judge Saylor is the first judge that's ever substantively addressed this issue. Those opinions are kind of more in the nature of drive-by rulings that kind of assume it to be the case, but don't analyze the issue. I happen to think Judge Saylor was right, but I also don't think it matters to the resolution of this case because they still haven't alleged a violation and they still haven't alleged proximate cause. But the reason I think Judge Saylor was right is because the way this statute works is it sets up two buckets for statutory violations. If a statutory violation has a private right of action, it fits under the predicate exception. If it doesn't have a private right of action, it fits under negligence per se. That is the whole point of the negligence per se doctrine. It is a common law rule that allows you to enforce statutory violations where the statute does not itself create a cause of action. And their position blurs the distinction between those two buckets. Judge Saylor's view respects the distinction between those two buckets, which is why I believe he was 100% right on that. But I would emphasize, I also don't think that it matters because their claim fails for lots of other reasons.
I didn't take them off.
Thank you.
So I don't know.
Thank you, Your Honor.
My guess would be living room by the couch.
Attorney Shadowin, please reintroduce yourself for the record and proceed with your
There's
report.
nothing heavy.
Steve Shadwin on behalf of the government. Unless
So you reserved, what, 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
And your colleague reserved 1 minute.
That's right. Unless
And-
the court has
Sorry.
any questions for me on extraterritoriality
Distracted, shiny.
or choice of law, I'm going to
Oops.
cede my 2 minutes to Mr. Lowy.
Good idea.
Thank you.
Good idea.
Thank you, Your Honors. Jonathan Lowy again for the government of Mexico. A few quick responses. One, my friend, defense counsel cites Twitter repeatedly. Twitter does not help them at all. Twitter cited direct sales approvingly when talking about.
Hold on. I got to stop it there. When they're talking about the terrorism stuff and they mention groups and shit, Twitter helps them directly because Twitter pushes their fucking propaganda and won't take it off their goddamn site, knowing that it's straight ass propaganda. What's BB saying? Did I tell you about the that looking clown that followed me to the gas? No, dude, you didn't tell me about that one.
No, yeah.
But yeah, Twitter facilitates, which our media does too, so fuck them. Facilitates the propaganda of terrorists. They absolutely do. They allow, and trust me, I am all about free speech, 100%. However, if you have a terrorist group, they're murdering innocent people, videotaping it, and putting it on your platform, that's not free speech. And when you allow people to fundraise on your platform off of those deaths, well, you're fucking complicit in that whole event.
And can I also point out something?
Yeah.
YouTube is also guilty of that.
Yes.
Back in 2012, you know what I actually saw when I was in high school?
What's that?
There's a video going around, floating everywhere. It was called the Mexican Chainsaw Massacre. And sure enough, there was 2 cartel members getting beheaded with a guy with a chainsaw. And I'm like, how is this still on the internet?
Well, here's the deal. I think videos like that should be able to be posted. I just don't think the organization posting the video should have a GoFundMe attached to it so they can do it even more.
Yeah, exactly.
And that might piss some people off because I want people to see what Hamas does. I want them to see it unedited on the fucking screen so they puke in their goddamn boots. But I don't want Hamas to be able to fundraise off of it.
No, forget Hamas. Look at what we had 4 or 8 years ago. ISIS.
Yes. Well, ISIS is another one. Yeah. You know, if you post a video, and this is the serious end of it. So if you had raw video showing that ISIS committed these crimes, I think you should be able to post those for anybody to see. However, like I said, ISIS shouldn't have a GoFundMe button in the bottom or be
100%.
monetized over the whole thing. Hey, send me another $50. I can fucking behead another 3 people. No.
The same thing applies for gang members too, doing that shit.
Yes. 100%. Yeah. It's just, I completely agree with the free flow of information, no matter how offensive that information is. In cases. So if I'm calling out a child predator and I have absolute evidence he's a child predator or she, and I post that information ought to run. Now, should I be able to post video because I get off on it because a child is being harmed? No, you ought to. Those wood chippers ought to be involved in that situation, and everybody should get your address. And come what may at that point. Do I believe that a seriously racist person should be able to get on YouTube or wherever and say whatever they want? Yes, I believe they should be able to. And I believe that prick ought to be put out on blast so that everybody, again, can mock them relentlessly for being a fucking moron, and you know where they're at and you know who to avoid. They can't go in a back room and go, oh, I'm not a racist. Well, no, wait a second, Mr. Louis Farrakhan. I have you on video talking about killing Whitey. That's a little racist, you think? It's we got a little more to play because this argument's almost done. We got almost 4 minutes.
Potential claims that are still allowed in a future case. And also, Twitter does nothing to address direct sales central point, which is when you're dealing with a regulated product that's sought after by criminals and traffickers.
I bet on
drugs
Ted,
and guns. There's a very different standard.
I would
than
bet on
ordinary commerce, which in the Twitter case
it could
were
be both.
tweets.
2 things can be true at the same time.
So again, Twitter helps us. Also, our case is, if anything, stronger than direct sales, even without discovery. Because for one, we allege, and this is a complaint at paragraphs 90 and 91,
Mexico's lawyer.
that the U.S. Department of Justice 20 years ago asked these defendants to stop supplying high crime dealers and stop engaging a lot of these practices that are the focus of our case. And the defendants completely refused. That is completely contrary to direct sales, where the government asked the defendant to stop doing some of these bulk purchases, and the defendant listened, but didn't do quite enough and ended up being convicted of criminal conspiracy. So the case is stronger. Defense counsel,
Is there an allegation of something analogous to bulk
understand that.
purchases here that the defendants would know about?
absolutely. I mean, that's one of the major practices of traffickers. You have someone going into a gun store saying, I want a dozen assault weapons. I want thousands of rounds of ammunition.
That happened.
Everyone knows that person's a trafficker. They come back a week later, they want another dozen. I had a case where they had wanted 85 guns in a
Sure,
single
the
purchase.
retailer would know that.
The retailer and the manufacturer has that information if they want to, and if they don't have it, they're willfully blind to it. So it's exactly the same. In fact, Direct Sales was a mail order company, had no interaction with the defendant, much less interaction than these defendants, as a matter of fact.
Case up.
The defense also, they talk about City of Philadelphia repeatedly. City of Philadelphia is contrary to the City of Boston, which properly states Massachusetts law. And by the way, there are a handful of cases that agree with the City of Boston on proximate cause and everything else, including the Supreme Court of Ohio, in City of Cincinnati, Supreme Court of Indiana, in City of Gary, federal court in White versus Smith and Wesson. All those cases agree with City of Boston, which is again, Massachusetts law contrary to City of Philadelphia. They also cite Nieves Castro and the Staples case on the machine gun point. Both of those cases are only talking about mens rea. That's it. The mens rea required to violate the machine gun ban, not what constitutes a machine gun. They cannot dispute ATF ruling 82-8, which makes absolutely clear that what we allege violates the machine gun ban.
Let me ask you just one question. Let's assume that you're right and the Blocker statute doesn't bar Mexico law from applying right now.
You don't have to download
That
StreamYard,
wouldn't
Gavin.
prevent Congress from
I sent
further
you a
amending the
link. You can
statute.
come on. You
Maybe
don't have to have
it's still a
StreamYard.
statute making it retroactive, correct? But it would have to, in your view, it would have to be Congress to do that?
Certainly, Congress could. I'm not prejudging whether that would be constitutional to retroactively do it, or whether there'd
Or
be other problems.
prospectively, Congress could amend the statute where you say there's a lagoon there that allows you to apply Mexico law, correct?
Congress could certainly amend PLACA to say what the district court said, which is the predicate exception is limited to statutory actions. Congress clearly chose not to do that, even though the district court incorrectly ruled that was the meaning of the predicate exception.
I think they did.
There are no further questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes arguments in this case.
All right, that concludes arguments in that case. Warsaw, first kick at the cat.
First off, no. This is a guy from Mexico, all right? I'm sorry, but this guy is a dickhead. He has no jurisdictional rights to tell us how to live our lives or what we do. And two, we're not breaking the laws.
Remember, these are American lawyers that have been hired or are dealing with the Mexican government to bring this case into the United States courts.
Yeah.
So the dude
like
himself, I haven't checked his
talking
citizenship, but he's an American lawyer.
Yeah, but why? We're talking Mexican law. Like, you got hundreds of fucking laws in Mexico that are beyond worse than America's. And
well,
I've looked into Mexico, and they only have one gun store that's in the center of Mexico, and it's all operated by the government.
This kind of goes into a point I'm going to make. One, hold on, I got to read my own shitty handwriting.
Was it mens rea, he said?
Well, first one was they talk about these high crime dealers. If you, like Chicago, if you make it damn near impossible to have a store selling firearms, so there's only one or two in the area, and they sell a shit pot of guns, there's no doubt some of those guns will be used in crimes and will be tracked back to that gun store. It's not that that gun store is selling a disproportionate number of firearms to criminals. It's the fact they're the only game in town. So over 10 years, if I'm one gun store and I service a 100,000-mile area and I'm selling to all these people in this 100,000-mile area, yes, some of those guns, by statistics, will end up in a crime because they get stolen. Yes, there will be some straw purchasers, which I don't give a shit about straw purchasers. I
And
really
be
don't.
handed off to multiple numbers.
Yeah, they'll be handed off to all kinds of shit. It just so, and that's another attack, and we've seen it in the last little while. Talking about some gun stores in Chicago, or that's when they went to these violations where we're going to be strict on these dealers, and if they do this, then they've revoked more FFLs than they ever have, and it's over like someone not. It's literally. I'm going to learn to talk one day over someone abbreviating a state versus writing out the name of the state. That's where some of these violations are, where the ATF comes in and revokes someone's FFL. Now, if you can prove, and this is our federal government, how much shit do they monitor and spy on us? If you can prove that I am taking guns and I'm selling them to someone, if I'm an FFL, I'm selling to someone without background checks. I'm like Joe Biden. There's just a car pulls up. There's a trunk full of guns. Well, then, yeah, you know what? That's one thing. But if I just have a large dealer base in an area and some of those guns are used in crimes, that doesn't mean I'm intentionally selling to criminals. It means I'm selling to people, and then those guns get stolen or whatever, and then shifted into crimes. That's a fucking amazingly huge difference, especially when you limit the number of gun dealers in an area to like one that services over 1 million people. I would love to be in that area because God knows I'm the only game in town at that point. I could charge $900 for a fucking high point at that, at that junction. What was the other calamity? There was something else I was going to hit. High crime areas. Oh, it was the Staples intent case. So the Staples case was a dude who bought a AR from some other dude. This guy didn't have a whole lot of fucking knowledge about firearms, and it turned out the gun had been modified to run as a machine gun. And that went all the way up, I'm pretty sure, to the Supreme Court, and they had to prove that this dude knew that that gun was a machine gun to actually convict him under the freaking NFA. And they couldn't prove that, and the dude ended up, after God knows how many thousands and millions of dollars, ended up getting off on the case. I have to look up the specific.
So he modified the receiver?
I think it was an entire complete AR. And like I said, again, I'll have to look at the specifics of the case again. I've covered it earlier on in my channel. And this dude had no idea. He just thought he bought an AR.
Mm-hmm.
And it was either a modification or a malfunction to where that gun fired more than one round with a single operation of the trigger. And he got caught somehow. I'll have to go back and look. He got caught somehow, got arrested, charged with having a machine gun, and the case went through, and he was like, look, I bought a gun that I thought was legal. This gun had a malfunction or had been modified in a way that made it malfunction. So I had zero intent to have a machine gun. It's Staples versus, hold on, I'll look it up real quick.
Now, theoretically, Coop, I could be wrong, but if something happens to this connector, say this broke apart away or fire, can it actually also cause that to go runaway
Yes,
fire?
it could. It very well could. Staples v. United States. It's a 1994 case. Yeah, I have covered it before. But yeah, it was Staples v. United States.
Staples.
So yeah, if if you had, and like I said, I know people that have put together a P80, know the dude personally, and did everything like he should have, didn't do any modifications to anything, and his initial test of the gun, the bitch would run full auto, dependably full auto. In other words, it wasn't a runaway. It was, I pull the trigger, it fires until I let off the trigger, and then once I let off the trigger, if I pull the trigger again, it fires full auto again. That's an absolutely unintentional act. They had every intention of following firearms laws. And what it was is polymer 80s, and people know they've got variances in them. So what was happening is that cruciform, the part of the cruciform that acts with the sear on the gun, wasn't catching perfect, but it was catching just enough to where the gun wasn't running away and it was controllable. And then it was just a matter of taking the cruciform and bending it up probably, I don't know, half of a fucking millimeter, which is half of a dime, roughly 2 sheets of paper. And then it was making the proper engagement, and then the gun was running semi-automatic again. That's not an intentional act, and that's where Staples came in. It wasn't an intentional act of this dude buying a machine gun. He just bought what he thought was a normal AR. And then bringing them up in this case proves how full of fucking shit the government's case is, and in this case, the government of Mexico. But I guarantee you they are supported by our very own Department of Justice. Because again, if you can prove Smith & Wesson, if the government had a case and you could prove Smith & Wesson was, sending machine guns into Mexico and all that, why isn't our own United States government bringing this case?
That's the big question.
Oh, it's okay if they did this, because at that point they've crossed borders with those guns, international borders, from the America to Mexico. So
Colombia.
they've broken ITAR right there. Just crossing that southern border, they are outside of ITAR. They've also broken multiple. It's 18 USC 922, 923. They've broken multiple U.S. laws. So why don't I see some dickhead from fucking Colt or Smith & Wesson getting frog marched in the media talking about, oh, they're selling machine guns, because that would be everywhere. Why don't you see that?
Because they don't want it to be leaked.
Because one, Smith & Wesson hasn't broke any federal laws. They haven't broken state laws. And they're very specific about, hey, if this state has a whatever round capacity for their guns, we're only going to ship guns with whatever capacity that state has. If this state has an AR ban, good luck getting a fucking M&P. They are doing everything they can to abide by the law.
Mm-hmm.
As much as the issues I have with Smith & Wesson, I can't remember when it was. There's a lot of gun control shit going down, and Smith & Wesson kind of bowed down to the anti-gun crowd. And that left a really bad taste in my mouth for Smith & Wesson. And it had to be in like the 90s, somewhere around there. And it was like, then I said, I'll never own a fucking Smith & Wesson. Never. Because of the way they bowed down to that shit. Would I change my mind about it now? Yeah, I think Smith & Wesson has got their shit together, putting out the M&Ps and really trying to produce a solid product. But, it's still the fact that this government, this Mexican government, has no documents. They have no proof that Smith & Wesson is intentionally producing a product that is going to be used to harm innocent people in their country or ours. There's no proof of that. There's no email there's no interview where someone from Smith and Wesson goes, yeah, dude, if we put these out there, more innocent people will die. And that's fucking great. There's no intent in that at all. Now, are they ready to make money and they'll sell guns to whoever legally purchases them? Yes. That's anybody who sells a legal fucking product. All right. Choose number 1 or number 2. Let's do well, we'll do this. We'll throw the whole chat in the deal. A number 1 for the first video and a number 2 for the second video. And let me make sure, hold on, I'll make sure I got them in the right tabs. That's that one. That's that one. So, hey, dude, trust me, it ain't gonna be no fun. So this video is number 1. This video is number 2. Number 1 is on the right. Number 2 is on the left. So if you want number 1 on the left, throw a 1. If you want number 2, throw a 2. We'll let the community vote. Say it made an announcement related to asking all the CEOs, major gun companies. Yes. BV, which you remember not too long back, last year, they called all the gun execs in and they were questioning them about all their shit in the House. I believe that was the House because I think it was before the Republicans took over the House. I don't think it was the Senate. Don't quote me. I could be wrong. And they bring these guys in, and that dude from Kimber who used to work for Kimber is the one that's always on the anti-gun side talking about, I saw the gun industry change, and overnight there was 1776 and the blood of patriots, or as Joe Biden says, the blood, the tree, fuck off already. You, what's up, my brother? Hey, you ain't nothing but a ball, push it, especially if you push it up a little bit when it tickles. Yeah, man. Just saying. You got to grow one. All right. Well, no one's answering, so we're going to play the one on the left. How about that? Ooh, I lost track of left and right. Okay. So you bastards didn't say anything, so we're going with Dick Durbin first.
Oh, God.
Damn it, man. We're getting dicked first. So this was, well, by now, it was yesterday. That's Mitch McConnell. Don't get me wrong. He's coming. Well, Mitch McConnell might not be, but Dick is.
Dick Durbin.
Did I just, I just said that. So, yeah, Dick Durbin.
Dickhead Durbin.
Hold on. I got to make sure. Damn, screen share wasn't it? So, yeah. We
Dickhead Durbin with turban.
Oh, she ain't shit, man. Jesus Christ. The fucking pain will not stop. Here he is. No lube.
National Gun Violence Survivors Week. This week we recognize
I got to touch on that real fast. Which one is it?
Of gun violence in America.
So, yeah, apparently this week is the National Gun Violence Survivor Week. May the odds be ever in your favor.
America. We offer our support to survivors who were left behind. No state or city is safe from the epidemic of gun violence.
And no lube.
Just yesterday in Joliet, Illinois, less than an hour outside of Chicago, 7 lives were taken.
It's Chicago.
Yeah, you think?
Joliet Police Chief Bill Evans said, and I quote, I've been a police officer for 29 years. This is the worst crime scene I've ever been.
And wasn't this dude that was found dead, shot himself in Texas?
Park, Illinois, a shooter with an assault rifle fired 83 rounds in less than 60 seconds at a 4th of July parade in 2022.
All right, pause.
Oh, okay.
Innocent people.
Hold on. I got to find the right tab because I
wounding
got plenty
dozens
open.
before law enforcement could find.
Where's my
even
pause? There you go.
60 seconds.
80 something rounds in 60 seconds. I think the dude had like a fucking beta mag or whatever. That ain't hard.
That's a Glock. That's gotta be a
Yeah.
Glock.
That's a no. The dude in Highland Park, I think, had an AR. He was the one
Yeah.
who got up on like a parking garage. If
Yeah,
I'm remembering
and-
right, you guys correct me.
Yeah.
Got up on a parking garage and was shooting down at the crowd.
No, but this is
Um,
Juliet, so it has. He said it was an AK or something.
I'm pretty well. It's been a while since I've seen pictures. It was an AK or an AR. I'm pretty sure it was an AR.
Well,
But
Highland
either
Park was an
way,
AR.
if I had 10 round mags and had to reload in between each one, I would have met that same pace. This guy was just spraying and praying. He wasn't aiming at anything. He would have done a fuckload more damage. Sorry, kids, if he had just took aimed shots. But he was just spraying it out there. So,
Well, gang members spraying prey.
oh, dude, yeah. Well, this was a dude, we've talked about it before. Wasn't his like uncle or somebody who paid one of the politicians off and got his damn FOIA card reinstated?
The Highland Park incident. Last time I checked, the uncle, I believe it's Robert Cremo the third. Yes, he
Yes.
pretty much talked to somebody in the higher ups and told the ISP to, hey, just expunge his record, reinstate his
Yep.
void card, and I'll pay you guys. And that's what he did, and got his void card approved. And when he did, he bought 2 firearms.
Yep. So,
Internal
that's
corruption. Oh, and by the way, the guy is in state prison for only 2 more years now, 2 or 3 years.
yeah.
identify where he was. So much for the theory of a good person with a gun stopping a bad person with a gun.
We're gonna let it
When comes to
play.
assault
We're gonna let it
rifles,
play.
That is not
We're gonna let it
even
play.
in the realm of possibility. Katie Gilman was one of many of my constituents who was there in Highland Park.
Yep.
She was with her husband and 2 daughters. to
Highland
see the
Park
4th
was
of
your
July
own doing,
parade,
Dick Durbin. Your own
and the
federal
shooter
and state
opened fire
government.
in the crowd.
Yep.
She and her children ran for their lives. Katie still lives in fear that what happened that day could happen again.
Also, mind you, Highland
That she
Park
might
already
not be
had
able
an
to
assault
protect her
weapons ban
kids
during
this
the
time.
jurisdiction of their county.
She recently
Yep.
wrote to me and said, for close to a year, I've had deep-seated fear that my children won't make it through the school day due to gun violence. And each week in the news, there's proof of these fears. The unfortunate reality is that Americans are forced to
I
worry
got to
about
stop it
whether
right
their
there.
kids
Hold
will be safe from gun violence at school.
on. When is the last actual school shooting that you can remember? Where someone went into a high school, elementary, whatever, junior high, and started capping innocent people.
Uvalde.
Uvalde's the last one I can remember.
And you know what?
Well, there was a kid in Michigan before or after Uvalde.
I think that was after Uvalde.
Either way, it doesn't happen often. But what they're equating here is your average weekly gun violence from gangs and all that to school shootings. And for those of you, if someone watches this tomorrow and you don't realize, if I walked into a school zone right now, it's 1:12 in the morning, and I fired a gun in the air, that would be considered a school shooting according to their metrics. So no one would be hurt. Kids aren't on premises. Nobody's around, but that would be a school shooting since it happened in the school zone. Now, think about this. Like Columbus, Georgia, even here in Phoenix City, there are schools right in the middle of neighborhoods. And if there's a shooting that happens in that neighborhood, not even connected with the school itself, that is counted as a school shooting. That's the fucking game these douchebags play. And if you don't believe me, oh, daddy. Yeah, I've showed that on the channel before. So,
Okay, also point out something too.
yeah.
If
Dude,
you
you
really
don't have
have
to ask, just point it out. Goddamn, Warthol. too nice.
Just the comments coming off the Dick Durbin's reading about that person saying, "Oh, I'm afraid of gun violence and shit."
Yes.
If you're really that afraid of where you live in fucking cities, goddamn Chicago, move the fuck out of a goddamn city.
Either move out or carry a firearm, regardless of whether you think it's legal or not. Carry a firearm and be able to respond to it. Because we can go through just the ones off the top of my head. Texas church shooting. Dude outside of the church, lived near it, responded with his AR and stopped shooting. You have the Texas shooting in another church where the dude literally drew his gun and within the first, 2 seconds, put a .357 SIG through a shooter's head, killed him. So he couldn't kill anybody else. You have the mall with, what's his face? Everybody had a drill after him for a little while where he walked past a gun-free zone sign with his legally owned firearm. And when the shooter come in and tried to kill people, he zapped them. It wasn't as sensational as what some people said, but yes, he stopped that shooting before it could go any further. And there are plenty like that. It happens, but
I must just say this: you cannot stop death, natural or unnatural. It's bound to happen.
It's
School,
yeah.
at the movies, at concerts, at church, virtually everywhere. Since 2020, the United States has suffered more than 600 mass shootings each year, almost 2 a day.
Oh,
There's also
shit.
coming the thugs shooting each other and people getting hit in the
And guns are now
crosswalks.
the number
Well,
one
hold
cause
on,
of
I'll
death.
pause it. We got to listen to him for a little bit, but let me pause this. So, Coleon Noir did a story about this, and I've talked about it before, where they lump in this BS to where, say, it's because it's always all someone injured in a shooting, right? That's part of their metrics, like, but they change it from 4 to 3 depending on whatever. Now, if there's a group of people, and this is fucking factual, if there's a group of people that attack me, I didn't provoke it. If there's a group of people that attack me, say I drill the first guy, and the other guys sprain their ankles, bang their knees, or something where it classifies as an injury, guess what that is? That's a mass fucking shooting. There was a pregnant woman, and I have to find the story. Guys broke into her house, assaulted her husband. There were like 4 guys. She went to the back room, got an AR, and went to zapping. There were more than 4 people, or there were more than 3 people injured in that event, and they count that as a mass shooting. Although it was completely self-defense, all that matters is there were more than 3 to 4 people injured in it. That's a mass shooting. When they tell you there are 2 mass shootings a day, they are so full of shit and ain't even fucking funny.
Coop, you know what this is becoming?
1984 mixed with Elmo using a strap on Barney, something like that.
You ever heard that song "Idiot America"?
Yes.
That's
Yeah, Green Day.
what
Yeah.
we're dealing with. We're dealing with ignorant
absolutely.
hysteria America right now.
It's freaking. I mean, what's up, Taco? I just saw you come in, brother. But yeah, it's because it's like the gun death metric they use every year. Well, there are 40,000. Okay, 2/3 of those are suicides. Knock them out. They will drop themselves no matter what. Then you have a proportion of those that are actual criminal homicides, and then they still add in justified shootings from police and from citizens into that metric. And you're talking about a country that right now, with the immigration that we have, the illegal immigration we have, they estimate our country at like 360 million or something. We are well over 400 million people. Well over at this point. but they add anything to do with a firearm into that category, justified, non-justified, or shooting, to pump the numbers up. And that's all they're trying to do. It's a numbers game to push a narrative. Yeah, you look at in John Lott, and even people who don't agree with John Lott have done the studies. The vast majority of gun homicides are like from just a handful of counties in the United States. A handful of counties, like 4 or some shit like that. That's where the vast majority of your actual gun homicides come from. So in a country that occupies our land mass, with the number of people that we have, 400 million at this point, you can knock it down to 4 places that don't even take up the size of Rhode Island, more than likely. So you tell me, what's the difference? Is it a culture thing? Yes, it is. Or is it a gun thing? We've always had guns. We've had cannons. We've had mortars. We've had explosive shells. We had people that could go buy dynamite for cash with no fucking ID needed. And now you're telling me it's the guns. Not
Okay.
so much.
Remember when I don't know if they taught you this, but remember they always told you to point scissors downwards while you're walking?
Yes.
If I pointed those scissors upwards or even forwards and I fell and I get jabbed myself, that's on me.
Yeah, well, these days they will probably count that as gun violence, because scissors, they move in the middle and you got to use your finger. Yeah, that's gun violence. It's fucking, don't doubt the way these people just absolutely manipulate the numbers.
American kids and teenagers. Think of that. In the entire world, it's in America, the #1 cause of death of kids and teenagers. Guns.
Pause.
Not auto
Got
accidents,
enough bull fucking shit.
not cancer.
Nah, I'm pausing. Give me a sec. I
Mr.
got to find the
President,
right tab
I ask consent to
because I
enter
got
into
so
the
many
record.
open.
The #1 cause of death, 2 things right now, is fucking fentanyl, which is #1, and 2 is normalizing fucking gang culture.
Yes.
fuck
Brooke,
you.
what's up, my sister? What are you doing up so late? Of course, you're at SHOT, so you're probably hanging out partying.
Fuck
What's up,
you,
sis?
dickhead Dick Durbin.
Brooke, if you wanted, goddamn, I don't want to ruin her reputation. But yeah, I was gonna say I'd post a link if you wanted to come in. I'd post the link you can come in.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you're in Vegas, and I don't want you to ruin your reputation by showing up on my show. What does that say about my channel? But yeah, they play with these terms, they play with the numbers, and I've showed it on my stream before. I can go to the CDC's website and search for different causes of death, and if I search for unintentional poisoning, unintentional car accidents, and then I search for unintentional firearm accounts for less than like 150 kids a year, and that's from age 0 to age 18. And they lump in, and if you haven't seen it yet, damn, you got to look. These kids, 11, 12, 13, 14, are being used by these gangs as shooters because they know if that kid murders someone, they will more than likely be charged as a minor and won't do serious jail time.
No, and
So they're involved in that culture of violence, and that's what it's about. That culture of violence.
here, I got some for you. Let me take a picture here of this.
Dude, if you try to send me dick pics, I'm not showing it on stream.
No,
I'll look
no,
at
no.
it later.
God forbid, no.
What, your camera won't zoom that far?
No, here, hold up. Neil
Hold
Johnson.
on. I got to put you up. Which one do I do to put you bigger? That's that one.
This is from Neil Johnson years ago.
There you go. You're sending me pics and mentioning Johnson.
No, this is the
Um,
YouTuber creator. I'm just talking about the fentanyl.
Oh God, I'm trying. I can't figure out which tab to make you the biggest. Hold on. I know how to do it. No, that's just telling me to kick you from the fucking stream. Okay, solo layout. That's where it is. Yeah.
That's reality.
It is. It's absolute reality. But we live in this world, and we've talked about it before. We live in this world where the media gets to control the narrative, and people who are uninformed. I'm being as polite as I can right now. Brooke's in here. I can't say it because love Brooke to death. People are so uninformed, they will not do the very basic research to figure out that the narrative is BS. That's this freaking thing where, oh, they're talking about, well, crime rates have dropped in all these places. Well, what else has happened in those places? We've went to constitutional carry. We had the Bruin decision, which made it easier for people to get permits. That's why those rates are dropping.
Oh, can I also add to the mix?
Dude, why do you ask?
Because
I'm
I'm
going
a
to make you an
respectful person.
asshole
That's a
one of
very
these days.
respectful person.
Yeah, hit it.
Okay. Probably also those states, mind you, also probably put policies to get rid of this trans agenda shit that's been pushed in their school systems, because every fucking mass shooter now has been actually affiliated or something indoctrinated by this trans agenda.
Dude, that's that kind of, I won't narrow it down necessarily, and I'm gonna, if I can figure out the right freaking button, I won't narrow it down just to the trans agenda. And the reason I won't is because that's a very small piece of the puzzle. A very small piece of the puzzle.
No, like I said, let me point out, I don't care what the fucking shit you want to do behind these closed doors or whatnot. You do what you want. But I'm saying, as far as the education system, when they're indoctrinating people, mind you, they're probably putting them on stable mental conditions.
Well, and this is an argument I've used before. So when you look at the public education system, go back 70 years and start looking at what was pushed. And we ultimately ended up with you're the snowflake, your feelings are all that matters. No one can understand you. It's your truth. And then we evolved into this. Well, if someone hurts your feelings, you have the right to resort to violence. What that has turned into is, if I'm bullied or something like that, then I am completely justified in inflicting my pain on others.
Correct.
I will guarantee, put a psychologist on here with me right now. I will guarantee you, if it is a reputable psychologist that's honest, that's where it is. So the trans agenda is just one part of it. I've been bullied, the anti-bullying campaigns, all the other bullshit. No one understands your position. No, we all understand your fucking position. We've all went through fucking puberty. We've all had chicks, talking about guys, we've all had chicks treat us like shit. We've all been the one that wanted the girl who didn't want us. You stack that up there. And I was thinking about it today, as a matter of fact, which I thought about it before. There's a difference in between experience and truth. Truth is truth, no matter what. Now, did I have a different experience in some cases? Yes. Did other people? I hear people from my generation that grew up around the same time as me talk about race was so good at the time, and we didn't have these racial issues, and in some cases that was right. However, I almost got my ass monkey stomped out just walking past a goddamn basketball court because it was right after the Rodney King verdict. And the only thing that saved my ass from getting stomped into the ground by like 15 dudes was one of the black dudes knew me and was like, well, no, wait a second. That's Coop. He doesn't care about this shit. and I believe his name was Tony. I might be misremembering a name, but that dude literally saved my fucking life that day. I had another friend right around that time, Pat. I'll say this. There's a caveat with Pat. Pat was cool dude. However, Pat had the biggest weed stash on Fort Gordon at the time, and yeah, he was selling weed to people. And he didn't care about your color, anything. Pat would damn near give it to you. And that dude got beat so bad one night, and he showed me his fucking medical records. If he had got another hit up in his freaking cheeks, he would have lost every fucking tooth in his head. That wasn't just a simple, I'm going to take your drugs deal. That was a, we going to kill this white boy deal. So are there truths? Yes. In a lot of cases, race issues were way better back then. However, personal experience, there was a lot of fucking friction. A lot of friction back then. I live in a barrel. Don't bad. Yeah. Yep. You. All right. Let's listen to this.
Shit, Durbin.
Yeah. Let's listen to some more Dick. I'm sorry, Brooke. You're fixing to see Dick.
An editorial opinion published this morning entitled
The editorial
"Illinois' ban
opinion, and I
on
read
assault
that shit
weapons is
today.
working." It was published in the Sun Times. I ask unanimous consent to enter the record.
Without objection.
Thank you. It reflects the fact that Illinois decided to change its law a little over a year ago. We decided to finally come to grips with the assault weapons scourge
Do I
that
still
hit
have that up?
Highland Park and continues to threaten America. This is an article that is written by the
I
CEO
can
of Gun
find
Violence
quick, though.
Prevention Pact, Kathleen Sanchez. In it, she makes note of the fact that the new law in Illinois is being measured as to whether it's been successful on its one-year
Right.
anniversary.
Fuck it.
The analysis of data from the Gun Violence Archive shows
That, you know what? I
10%
don't understand
fewer
that,
mass
by the way.
shootings in Illinois between 2022 and 2023.
Dude, there's, you can't
Gun dealers
understand
have sold
something
assault
logically.
weapons in
that is
Illinois
No,
in the
why
past
did
12
why
months,
they make
she
an
writes,
anniversary
and
of
there
the
isn't
fucking
any
death date?
evidence of
Just get
violations
over
by
it.
dealers. Gun dealers
It
are
ain't about
complying
getting
with the
over it.
ban, and that's evidenced by
It's
their
about
complaints
using it.
about the loss of sales, collectively costing dealers
It's just
millions
sick
of
I'm
that
gonna-
they have to use
I'm
it as
gonna-
an
saving
anniversary.
untold
I'm
numbers
going to
of
post this in
lives.
the chat.
In fact, when assault weapons or
Now,
high-capacity
I'll stop this
magazines are
here
used
because
in
we'll
shootings,
hit
155
this just a little bit. Okay. If I want an event to stick in someone's head, to stick in the public's head, that's the article he's talking about, by the way. I just posted in chat. Then I want to bring that up constantly or periodically. So, like 9/11. If I say 9/11, probably 60 to 70% of the world will understand what I'm saying when I say 9/11. If I mention, January 15th, most people, well, I won't say most, a lot of people in the United States will remember that that's Martin Luther King's birthday. So we commemorate dates, 1776 and, 4th of July. What you have to understand is the same psychology we use to mark dates for, things that should be celebrated. They use the dates to commemorate things that absolutely are just to push a narrative, an agenda.
I mean,
This week, I didn't know it till Monday. This week is supposed to be Gun Violence Survivor Week or whatever. And now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure I could go back to last year. Pretty sure it was last year. And I can track down a bill in Congress that designated this week as the Gun Violence Survivor Week. Because there was a bill that came through that went to this. And you had Republicans vote for it because they're like, oh yeah, gun violence survivors. We don't want to be mean. We love, people that, had to live through this, or people that, were lost, and we want to commemorate them. But it's all just a head game. It's an absolute head game. So that's why, like you were saying, I don't understand why they do it. Well, that's why they do it. They
No.
have to keep that narrative alive.
No, but it's like, all right, would you say 9/11's having an anniversary? It's already a date.
Well, I mean, it's not a federal holiday yet, and trust me, that is more than likely coming, where it will be a federal holiday. And you can tell federal holidays by what narrative the government wants to push at that time. And damn, there's a big step right there I get in some trouble for. But it's all about the narrative. We celebrate 4th of July because the narrative was freedom, independence, all this stuff. We celebrate, Thanksgiving was created because there was a president that wanted to have this collective idea that, Indians and this and people that. And so don't discount or don't glaze over why holidays become these federal deals where they're going to celebrate them constantly. LGBTQ month, June, whatever it is, fuck me running. Like there's not a military out there who has spent millions of lives to defend America that get a day, but we get a whole month because one guy likes to touch another guy on the Peter, or some chick likes to scissor with another chick, or some dude can't figure out this whole power plug thing where male and female work together. That's a month. These things mark dates for narratives, and then those narratives are just continued and pushed at people. I promise you, when I was in junior high, we weren't the whole month of June wearing fucking rainbows. And I'd have to look at when that actually became the month. And then I will guarantee you it took a little while after that month to where you had Drag Time Story Hour. Just saying. All right, let's listen to some more dick. Because God knows I love me some dick. And yeah, I said it. It's my joke. Fuck you.
47% more people are killed. That's
Well, I got to back him up a
sense
second.
effort to put it
More serious.
Hold on. Damn it. C-SPAN clips.
Mr. President, I'd like to take a moment to annual National Gun Violence
There we
Survivors
go.
Week.
We're close enough.
This week, we recognize the unbelievable toll of gun violence in America.
Them
We
guns
offer
are
our
just
support
running
to
wild.
survivors who were left behind. No state or city is safe from the epidemic of gun violence.
Yeah,
Just
Fire, you're
yesterday,
right
in
about that.
Joliet, Illinois, less than an hour
December
outside of
7th this
Chicago,
year was a blip.
7 lives were taken within minutes by a shooter with a gun. Joliet Police Chief Bill Evans said, and I quote, "I've been a police officer for 29 years. This is the worst crime scene I've ever been associated with."
Yeah, you're right. Can we
In
just turn
Highland
that
Park,
clock back
Illinois,
a little bit?
a shooter with an assault rifle fired 83 rounds in less than 60 seconds at a 4th of July parade in 2022. Killing
I honestly
7
doubt it was that fast, but
innocent people and wounding dozens before law enforcement could finally even identify where he was. So much for the theory of a good person with a gun stopping a bad person with a gun.
who
When it
actually
comes to
stopped the
assault
dude?
rifles, that is not
Wait a
even in
second.
the realm of possibility. Katie Gilman was one of many of my constituents who was there in Highland Park. She was with her husband and 2 daughters to see the 4th of July parade. Then the shooter
Trying to
opened
take my
fire in the
fucking work
crowd.
boots off. Shit.
She and her children ran for their lives. Katie still lives in fear that what happened that day could happen again,
All right, we're getting back.
or that she may not be able to protect her kids this time. She recently wrote to me and said, "For close to a year, I've had deep-seated fear that my children won't make it through the school day due to gun violence. And each week in the news, there's proof of these fears."
Dude, you join me.
The unfortunate
Come on,
reality
chain
is that
smoke with me.
Americans are forced to worry about whether their kids will be safe
Listening
from
to the
gun
shit.
violence
This
at
shit is
school,
one of the reasons I chain
at
smoke.
movies, at concerts, at church, virtually everywhere.
Hey, Coop, I gotta head
Since
off today,
2020,
man.
the
Hey,
United
it's
States
good
All
has
right, man.
suffered more than 6.
All right, brother. Warsaw, take it easy, brother.
Each year.
You too. And hey,
Almost 2 a day.
we'll have to plan out what we're gonna do
There's
next
no
with
place in America
Yeah,
where
dude,
guns are spared. And
which-
guns are now the number one
Hold on, let
cause
me
of
pause
death
this for a sec so
American kids.
he can lie a little more clear without me talking over him. But yeah, dude, go ahead and bounce. But we definitely got to get together. Definitely got to get with the dude we were on the phone with the other night and get John
Yeah.
Crump and other guys involved and start trying to put that bug in everybody's ear.
Yep.
So
Anyway,
yeah.
You take care, man.
All right, take him easy, Warsaw.
You too.
Later, brother. All right, let me get back to this. I'm gonna let this play. I gotta hit the restroom room.
And teenagers.
I don't know why. I'm getting
Think of
rest
that.
in
In the
there.
entire world, it's in America. The number one cause of death of kids and teenagers, guns. Not auto accidents, not cancer, guns. Mr. President, I ask consent to enter into the record an editorial opinion published this morning entitled "Illinois' Ban on Assault Weapons is Working." It was published in the Sun-Times. I ask unanimous consent to enter the record.
Without objection.
Thank you. It reflects the fact that Illinois decided to change its law a little over a year ago. We decided to finally come to grips with the assault weapons scourge that hit Highland Park and continues to threaten America. This is an article that is written by the CEO of Gun Violence Prevention PAC, Kathleen Sanchez. In it, she makes note of the fact that the new law in Illinois is being measured as to whether it's been successful on its 1-year anniversary. The analysis of data from the Gun Violence Archive shows 10% fewer mass shootings in Illinois between 2022 and 2023. Gun dealers haven't sold assault weapons in Illinois in the past 12 months, she writes, and there isn't any evidence of violations by dealers. Gun dealers are complying with the ban, and that's evidenced by their complaints about the loss of sales, collectively costing dealers millions of dollars. But
God, what is up, my brother?
lives. In fact, when assault weapons or high-capacity magazines are used in
I'm
shootings,
back.
155% more people are shot, 47% more people are killed. That simple, common sense effort to put an end to gun violence is working in Illinois. Thank
Frag out. I gotta ask you. No, I won't. Because if you get on here, me and you're gonna go for about another 4 hours. So I'm gonna let this play. But yeah, welcome to the holy shit. This is painful stream. This isn't well. This didn't start out as yeah it did. That's a little like saying, yeah, we're just going on a date. I'm just gonna buy you dinner. Stream. Yeah. Anyway. Frag out, what's up, my brother?
Thank goodness. But we must do more. We cannot lose hope.
I invite Frag out. He's going to bring Bertha out there and be fucking racking the
In
50
cities like
cal.
Chicago, dealing with the drumbeat of gun
I will
violence,
never get
has
any
turned
sleep.
Public health professionals into battlefield experts. I heard from doctors in Chicago who are sick of treating gunshot victims on the operating table, 50% of whom, if they survive, would leave the hospital and return gunshot victims.
Yep,
dead.
Shakira. That's what it was.
They
It was
wanted to
Shakira.
prevent this gruesome injury
Got that big
scenario from
ass.
happening in the first place and then repeating. So in 2018, I brought together the CEOs of the 10 largest hospitals serving Chicago to talk about how we can help. We formed a group known as the Chicago Heal Initiative, which has emerged as a national example of how hospitals
I would
can
Google that if it
collaborate
wasn't so
and reach
late.
outside their walls to prevent gun violence. Most importantly,
And
they
my
aren't just
4-year-old
stitching
is
up
still
physical
working.
injuries. They're addressing the emotional scars of these patients. We must do more for survivors. That means providing resources like the HEAL Initiative to help those who have
Yeah,
experienced trauma
Shakir,
and preventing weapons of war from causing bloodshed in the first place. It's time for us.
that is where I wish I was really great. Like Man Against the Masses can make a meme up in no time. I wish I was really good at this, or like had an assistant when you said the Shakira shit, where I could like show like Shakira shaking her ass and then fucking Fry out racking the 50 on the stream. But I suck, and it's just me. I'm old, fat, and slow. So you guys just get the dick.
To build on the bipartisan Safer Communities Act and come together to create real change. Congress must pass common sense legislation to help keep America's children and communities safe. Mr. President,
Don't
I'd
worry.
like to
There's
turn-
one more video after this one. He switched to, I don't know, whatever the fuck he switched to right there. I can't damn remember. But no, we saved the best for last. Yep, we have Chris Murphy.
18-point win. It's one of those
Give it a
losing New
second.
Hampshire primary lore stories. But he did it basically. If you
where's
want to
my
look at
freaking
two or
button?
three
Where is
different
the
metrics.
button?
One with
Here.
his deep
Here we go.
support
Give it a
of these
second, 'cause-
independent voters we've been talking about.
And now on deck,
Without
Chris
objection.
Murphy.
Mr.
And
President,
this
I
was
formally
all
request for
yesterday.
committees to meet during
Was
today's
today,
session of
now
the
it's
Senate.
yesterday.
They have the approval of the majority and minority leaders.
Duly noted.
We're always talking about Shakira's
Mr.
butt.
President, this week is National
matter what
Gun
you say.
Violence Survivors Week. I wanted to come down to the floor today to share with my colleagues the meaning and the impact of this week, the meaning and the impact of a national network of gun violence survivors on the debate to change the nation's gun laws. But I also want to share with my colleagues some good news.
BV, from what I know
about
of
what's
guys that have
happened
been
over
in,
the course
yeah,
of the
you're
last
right.
year since the passage
Rip it and dip.
of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. That's the first
Damn, that makes me
significant
wanna
change
dip.
in our
Yeah,
nation's
I do
gun
dip
laws
sometimes.
in 30 years. I want to start by talking about survivors. I want to start by talking about two people that I have referenced on the floor of the Senate in prior speeches, two of my great friends in Hartford, Connecticut, Sam Saylor and Janet Rice.
Anything went on X
Sam
the whole
and
time they're doing
Janet
this shit?
shared a son,
No,
Shane.
everybody on X.
Shane was a pretty incredible young man, not without challenges, but he had risen up and met those challenges over the course of his life. On October 20th of 2012, just a month before the shooting at Sandy
That was a fun.
Hook, he became the 20th
Not
victim
Sandy Hook,
of
trust
gun
me.
violence in Hartford that year. In a typically random act of violence, he was fixing up cars and selling them for a small profit. He was transferring one of those cars to an acquaintance. His girlfriend was with him. Some coarse words were exchanged between the two parties about his girlfriend. A physical altercation broke out.
Okay. Is it just me, or is there probably a lot of that story he is glazing over? Just asking. I mean, it's maybe just a little, a lot.
Which caused Luis Rodriguez to go to his car where he had a gun, an illegal gun. He took it out and he shot Shane Oliver. Essentially,
Was Luis
after an
illegal?
exchange of words about Shane's girlfriend. Shane collapsed to the floor. When he reached the hospital, he was dead. 20 years old, a whole life ahead of him. He left behind a network of survivors, his parents, but also a daughter, Secret. Both Sam and Janet They went into the work
I
of
won't go
preventing
into
gun
that
violence.
joke, but
They
okay.
joined advocates in Hartford to try to create a reality in which that kind of random death, that kind of random gun violence wouldn't be a reality any longer in Hartford. And they devoted themselves to that work. Janet joined an organization that responded to shootings to try to interrupt the cycles of violence that often happen in Hartford. And so
Brother
she
Van
has spent
Thorn.
much of the last several years responding on a nightly basis, often to episodes of violence and to shootings. And in April of last year, she got a phone call to respond to a shooting that had happened. And she got in her car and she headed for that scene. And as she was driving there, she got a second call from her supervisor who told her to pull over. Said, Janet, you can't be driving when you hear this news. The young woman who is shot that you are going to respond to is your granddaughter, is Shane's daughter. Secret died that night. A couple days later, I went to her funeral.
Dude, Gabber,
That's what's
hold
going on out there in the world today.
I got,
Right? For Sam and
let
Janet,
me
they lost
stop
Shane,
this
and then
real
a decade
fast.
later, they
Because my email is out there. But Gabber, and if I don't type this right, it's not my fault. It's late. Nope, I added an extra 2 into it. CNT Design 2022 gmail.com. All right. That is my email address, Perps. And I'll post that up here. So that is literally, don't expect me to check it every hour, like every day. Sometimes I don't check it for every couple days. But Gabber, if you got an idea for a plasma cut you want done, hook me or send it to me. Now, what you have to realize is my plasma cutting ability right now is pretty well shut down until January, February, until March ish. So I'm betting on May or so. So yeah, don't expect nothing real fast. It's just the situation I'm in right now. But if you got an idea, man, email me. If any of you guys have cases you want to look at that you would like me to cover, email me. If you just want to say, hey, what the fuck up, fat fucker, email me. I'm pretty simple with that. Is what it is. All right, let's get back to dummy.
They lost Shane's daughter. And I wish that their story was the anomaly, but it is not. There are thousands of families in this country who have lost multiple loved
Oh, I got to stop it right here real fast.
brothers and sisters.
Yeah, Frag Out. I watched the video you sent me, or you sent me the link for the other day about the banking and stuff. And yeah, dude, I remember a lot of that. And yeah, we are getting played like a fucking violin by these banks, connected to the federal government, connected to the reserve, connected to other countries. And it's insane when you actually sit down and look at it. BV, yeah, catch me on the right day. I'm 47. I'd go fight one, I don't know, tomorrow. Just me and my Bowie knife. Damn, I don't have my good blade on me. I don't know what to do with it. So, yeah, me and my Bowie knife. Go try to cut his nuts off or something.
Sisters.
My luck, I'd run into a
Daughters
girl
and
and she'd
granddaughters
kick my
to
ass
this
anyway.
epidemic of gun violence. And so on this week in which we commemorate the survivors, it's important to
They
understand
ain't
the depth
commemorating shit.
of this tragedy. But it is also important to celebrate the work that these survivors have done, because over the past 10 years in particular, through a number of organizations in this country, survivors like Sam and Janet and many others have come together to demand that Congress and state legislatures and mayors and city councils do something.
Yeah, I
to
tend to
stop
be
this
pretty
reality
straight in the mouth there,
in which
BB.
parents and
Not so much in the
grandparents
butt,
have
though.
to
Just kidding.
lose sons and granddaughters to
Damn,
gun
I did
violence.
just say that.
And last year, we finally stepped up to the
My
plate.
sense of humor should not be
in part
left alone
because
by
of the
itself.
advocacy of all those survivors. We passed the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. And our theory was that if we make a big change in the nation's gun laws,
Just
make
long
it a
enough
little
to
bit
fit.
harder for dangerous
Like my
people to get
paper.
their hands on dangerous weapons, well, then we can try to make a dent in the epidemic levels of gun homicide in this country.
Okay.
Now, I've said all this standing
Wait-
next to
wait a
this
second.
chart, so you know.
So, all of you guys in the chat, pretty well versed dudes, pretty damn smart. Show me a weapon that's not dangerous. I mean, weapons themselves are dangerous by intent. They are tools, but they are made to be dangerous. I don't go launch ballistic missiles at someone with, I don't know, fucking Care Bears and the damn nose cone. Someone breaks in my house, I don't shoot them with shotgun shells loaded with, I don't know, fucking Fruity Pebbles or some shit. Excuse me. And yeah, that was a real Burt kid. You guys just kind of had to suffer through that one.
The success story that I'm about to tell you. Last year, urban homicides in this nation fell by 12.1%. That is the biggest one-year reduction in urban homicides in
Okay,
the
I gotta
history of the
stop that
United
again
States
right there.
of America. Now,
Okay. Something significant that has happened in the last year and a half is a lot of states have went to, guess what? Either permitless carry, Florida, bunch of douchebags, or went to constitutional carry. So what you see is that in areas where more people are allowed to carry their firearms legally, you see drops in things like assaults and murders, stuff like that. In areas like, I don't know, downtown fucking Chicago, where they're still putting in all these bullshit rules and regulations, you don't see that drop. So, yeah, there's that. But they will use those statistics. Oh, there's this big drop in crime all around the world, and Illinois is banning all these guns is the one that's doing it. No, it's not. We sit here and after the statistics are in for 2023 by the DOJ, maybe someone smarter than me can put all those in a map, John Locke, and it will prove this bastard's statement's a complete lie. I would. Yeah, I would. I don't bet much because normally if I got a 50-50 shot on a bet, I'm going to lose. But on this bet, I will guarantee you I would win money. Where's the bookie in Vegas taking fucking, $20 on this? I'll mail it to him. Well, tomorrow. Well, today. Later today. Post office ain't open right now. It's fucking. But the fact is, and it's what drives me crazy. Well, a lot of things drive me crazy, but this dude can get on the floor in the Senate and lie to the American people the whole time, and he's not held accountable at all. See, to me, honestly, when he puts that pin on his lapel or whatever, and he walks on that Senate floor, his ass ought to be under oath the entire goddamn time. But President Biden can get on there, and he can lie to you all day long. when the Second Amendment was written, you couldn't own a cannon. That is a factually provable lie. But nothing happens to him. Just me. I seriously need to do a stream one out on Coops.
Is that a
Fixes
cause for
Congress.
celebration? No, because there's still far too many people in this country who are dying at the hands of gun violence. But we should appreciate the fact that a 1 year, 12% reduction in urban homicides is proof that when you change the laws of the country, our communities get
when
safer.
you allow more people to carry.
So I want to talk to you just for a moment about what happened over the past year.
Hold on, I got to make him the bigger one here.
Gun-related injuries and deaths,
Which is a problem he's never had.
Have fallen by 10%. Again, just an absolute remarkable 1 year reduction. 10% reduction in gun injuries and gun deaths in a 1 year period of time. And the reason that this is happening is in part because we've changed the law. One of the things that happened over the course of this last year is we started to get a lot more careful about selling guns to young buyers. And so we have had a number of young buyers in this country who have been disqualified from buying an assault weapon. Often those young buyers are in crisis.
Because no one's ever killed with a handgun or shotgun.
Buying assault weapons. Because we found out through the provisions of this bill
Virginia
that they were in
Tech
crisis, we have likely interrupted many mass shootings. Second, we have a lot more prosecutions of gun trafficking.
Hold on, I gotta hit it.
Gun trafficking is a federal crime, and so
just because. Notice he doesn't mention the people who can't figure out which transmission they're using doing shootings, and that maybe being an issue. And I'm not saying that all people that have that issue are shooters. I'm not. Nowhere near that. Okay. Yeah. Back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Hundreds of prosecutions
literally
have been successfully completed over the last year against gun trafficking rings. That means there are less guns in our city that are being trafficked on the black market. We have more red flag laws in this country and stronger red flag laws.
Because that's a good thing.
Because we put money in the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act to encourage states to adopt and strengthen their red flag laws. These are the laws that take guns away temporarily from people who are in crisis or making threats against other community members. Those red flag laws have become
without due process
more important. We've put out the door $438 million for community anti-gun violence work, like the work that Janet Rice
gun
and Sam
buybacks
Saylor do. And so there are dozens of anti-gun violence organizations in our cities that are receiving money to help interrupt violence.
Gabby Giffords.
And we've put billions of dollars
Brady.
out the door for additional mental health services, particularly targeted at young people who are often the primary victims and the primary perpetrators
I gotta do
of
it.
gun crime.
Just because. How much money do you think Walk the Talk America has gotten from these folks? Because Walk the Talk America will actually come to you when it's legal, pick up your firearms from you, store them, get you mental health treatment so that you can recover. But no, that's just no. Walk the talk, frag out, not walk the talk. I realize my accent sucks, but yeah, you fucker, you ought to be able to understand me. Yes, fire, 100%. But that is the term they're going to use. Kind of like ghost guns. Now, some of us have basically embraced the term. Ghost gun right here. Showed the frame off about an earlier issue. Yeah, ghost gun right here. Wait a second. No, that's not a ghost gun. That's a braced pistol. So yeah. It's just what really kills me is the media pushes the narrative. So this dumbass can get up there and talk about all the stuff. He doesn't get called on it. He doesn't get called on his numbers. Someone like John Lott, who lays all these numbers out factually and actually goes through them, he gets shoved to the side. It's
in this country.
Nancy
Now, I
Pelosi has
can't
been
tell
good
you
about
that this
saying perception is reality,
12% reduction in urban
and she means it.
homicides is completely due to the implementation of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. I can't tell you
Yes,
that.
frag out, 100%.
But
Yeah,
what I know is that if you look at the
lying
trajectory
straight to
of
your
violence in
face.
this country over time, the biggest drops have always happened right after Congress does a better job of regulating firearms.
Yep.
The two biggest drops in violence in this country's history
Buzzwords
are
and key
right after the
phrases.
1930s gun control acts and right after the 1990s Brady Bill and assault weapons ban. Whether this trend continues, I don't know, but if it does, or even if we get a 6% reduction next year and an 8% reduction the next.
Okay, I gotta stop again. I can't get through, like, I had to force me and Warsaw to get through a couple minutes at a time tonight because I didn't plan on the stream going near this long. But you can't listen to this if you actually know anything about it and not be like, holy fucking shit. That dude just tied me to the stupid tracks and ran me over with like a fucking 100-car long banana train and expects me to believe it. But there are a lot of the American people who do believe everything this son of a bitch is saying. And that yeah. BV's right. Yeah, something politics, yada yada. Yeah. But there are a lot of people that buy into this shit. And yeah, whoop whoop board, yeah, frag out. All of us have been tied to those same tracks. And the whole time we're going, wait a second, this is bullshit. No, this is no, it doesn't. And they just keep running over it. However, for us that are tied to the tracks, there are plenty of people on the fucking train that just run over us. And they vote in larger numbers. Well, their bodies vote. And okay, next subject. Yeah, it's the same thing for every interest. And this is where I get into some of my arguments. And I said it on the turkeys not too long back. And mentioned on Jason and Shanna's show. This is where I get into this whole idea of 2A community shit. It shouldn't be about the 2A community. It should be about freedom. If you get the preppers, if you get the guys who just want to be left alone, if you get the gun guys, then that community expands. But we have way too many people in the so-called 2A community that, oh, you're not into guns. You don't know anything about guns. We don't want to talk to you. No, the only time I don't want to talk to you is when you are the government is my God kind of person. And that's where I have my biggest issues. If you believe the government solving your problem, and I've said it before, government gives you cancer and then sells you the idea that more cancer will cure your cancer. That's the cycle we're in. And until more people realize that more cancer isn't a good thing, we're stuck. And if you believe anything that happened in 2020 was off the rails, you haven't seen what's going to happen in 2024.
Next year, this could represent the third giant reduction in violence rates in this country's history. And if that is the trajectory, then a piece of that story is
Until the wheels
bipartisan
comes all the way
legislation
off.
that we passed. As we commemorate Gun Violence Survivors Week, it is important to remember that when you lose a loved one, especially in that sudden violent way to gun
Well,
violence,
that's the thing. We don't have to
there
get
is no
along,
repair.
Frag.
There is no recovery. Your life never returns to normal.
We don't have to get along.
After Janet lost Shane, she didn't leave her house for months. Wouldn't leave her house for months. And when she finally did start leaving her house, often she would do
Dude,
it
if I
in this
lost my
manner.
kids, I probably wouldn't leave my house
Often
again.
late at night, when the streets of Hartford were quiet, she would get in her car. She would drive from her home
Taco, you are a
to the
sick
site
man
that Shane
or
was shot.
sister.
She actually got to
Maybe I should keep
see
calling you
Shane
sister.
alive after he was shot. She held him in her arms.
Love you, brother.
As he bled out. She would go to that site, which is just 2 blocks away from where I live today in Hartford. She would turn on her high beams
Yes,
and she would wait.
100% fire.
When she told me the story, I asked her, "What are you waiting for? What were you waiting for?" She said, "I was waiting for Shane to come back." She'd go to the site that he was shot, that he bled to death in her arms. She would turn on her high beams in hopes that maybe Shane would come back. That just gives you
Yes, Frag
one
out.
single window into what life
We
is
deal
like
with
for
it
a mother.
Anytime
when
we
they
get on
lose
social media,
a son or a daughter. to gun
anytime,
violence.
unless you have
Survivors
your
of gun
own
violence,
echo
those that
chamber
have lived
built,
through a shooting, or those who have lost loved ones in a shooting, their lives are changed forever. And this week, we pay tribute to them by recognizing the work that they have done to rattle the conscience of this country, to change the gun laws of
To
this
push
country
the
in a
narrative,
historic way, leading to the largest
disregard
ever
the facts.
one-year drop in armed homicides in this country's history. I yield the floor.
Okay, so Chris is
Mr.
over,
President.
and I'm going to end this in just a minute and get out of here. Because just damn. They talk about this drop in violence and all this stuff for gun violence, which is not the same, apparently, as not knife violence or golf club violence or just choking someone out violence. And they don't acknowledge the fact that more states are now, except for Florida, fuck y'all can't get your shit straight. More states are now making it easier on people to carry a firearm, whether they carry it open or whether they carry it concealed. In the last 2 years, that has caused a major drop in, excuse me again, that's caused a major drop in these crime rates. Because if you look at it, and we can look at numbers. If you look at areas that are still heavily restricting firearms, regardless of what the Supreme Court said, you will see those crime rates in those areas either stay the same or raise. In areas where they have actually gone into situations where they are more constitutional about firearms carry, those rates have dropped. And I listened to arguments when Alabama was going to go constitutional carry. I listened to Democrats say, "Oh, there's going to be blood in the streets. Judges are going to be killed in courthouses," and all this absolutely just horse shit. But I can guarantee you that in the hearts of Birmingham and Montgomery, even in Phoenix City, not too far from me, those crime rates have either stayed the same or they have grown. Everywhere else, they have dropped. It has been proven many times that criminals do not like to jump on armed victims, because armed victims or potential victims can actually defend themselves. Whether it's a 105-pound woman against a 280-pound man, if she's got a what's the fucking most retarded firearm I can think of right now? The first firearm I ever owned. If she has a high point 40 cal in her purse and he jumps on her and she drills him in his chest, that's not going to be a rapey situation unless she has other things in her purse and just bends his corpse over. You guys can draw that picture. I'm so sorry for what my brain does. Vanessa, what's up, my sister? So yeah, I'm fixing to get out of here. I still got to get a shower. I got a couple hours sleep before I got to be up. And again, this was another one of those streams. I have to do a planned stream, and if I can get everything in line, it might be late tomorrow night. Because I don't want to jump on Night Strike. Son of a bitch. What's up, brother?
I'm sitting here just typing in the side chat, just going on and on.
You caught me on a rant. You cannot hold me accountable.
No, I can, because it's your rant.
Yeah, but words are words.
And as you were going on about the Democrats saying this blood's in the street, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria, they say that shit all the time.
Yes,
you should see this shit they tried to pull when the Republicans in South Carolina were emboldened because when Trump was in office to allow open carry with permit here in South Carolina. They tried to use doctors, and the doctor and get those doctors to say, "Well, think of the children," and then they try to use teachers. Moms need action needed, and tried to play the children card. They all tried to play the children card. The children's are gonna die. The children's are gonna die. And guess what?
There will be Legos in the street, and everybody will be barefoot.
Oh no! And everybody's feet will bleed. And guess what? Nothing happened.
Nothing. The crime rates actually started to drop.
Yeah, especially here in South Carolina, which is funny because the crime rates are through the roof.
And I've got to pull up John Lott's thing. Washington Gun Laws used it, and a couple other guys that most of us follow. And if you're not following Washington Gun Law, look him up. He's a very, very intelligent dude. He actually is a lawyer.
I don't follow him, but I watch his videos every now and then. Some of his videos are a little clickbaity.
A little,
not many, but a little.
Not as bad as Armed Scholar. I'm saying that. I'll go to hell for it, but yeah, not as bad as Armed Scholar.
No. Armed Scholar is, let me waste the first minute and a half talking about my sponsor.
Yes.
I mean, listen. If your show is sponsored, have a picture of the damn company before you start it. Yes. Don't waste a minute and 30 seconds of time of people's time to telling you about your sponsor.
Dude, when I got halfway to where I am right now, Armed Scholar was the dude I followed, and I got much respect for the dude. He does some serious work.
You could say I'm in Charleston.
Although my stream tonight was late night oral, if you follow me, you already know it's about oral arguments. It's not hard looking. The rest.
Well, it's only one of two things with you, and I usually figure, it's usually the dirty part. Unless your wife's around, then it's the other one.
Look, I only did that guy because my wife was in the other room. Don't start with me. You already know.
All right. You got me there. And people are going to ask, why do you already know, Night Strike? You know what?
Hey,
I'm good.
Look,
you got me.
All I got to say is I haven't been to South Carolina, but Night Strike's been to Alabama. That's all I got to say.
Well, kissing cousins and all that.
You can't let
we can't make this shit up. This is we can take this shit and roll, dude.
I wish I could write all my jokes down and be like a list like Dave Chappelle or somebody, but I can't. I'm completely situational on everything. So unless I had like 5 hecklers in the audience, I would be boring as shit. I'd be like, hey, knock. Now, if you fucked with me the whole time, yeah, I'd ruin. It'd be great. It would be.
I'd
Beautiful.
like to believe I add some hilarity to our interaction too. Just saying.
Yes, you do. Yeah, absolutely. We need to go on tour.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's no different than working on the construction side or something like that.
Right.
It's
No,
just,
I get it.
it's that constant bounce of humor. Now, like I said, I can't write the shit down because it would sound completely stupid if I did it outside of the situation. Inside the situation, oh, it's fucking great. if you haven't broke a rib yet, you ain't been paying attention.
No, it's true. It's true. But again, if the feds ask you about your guns and being legal, just the only response you need to give them is the old meme. Are those level 4 plates?
Yes.
Oh shit, we better get out of here.
Yeah. Hey, you're not wearing a faceplate, are you? Because that helmet only protects the back of your head and your forehead.
Yeah.
That whole grill right there.
No, it's from a video meme. They're asking like, is that pistol legal?
Oh, yeah,
like,
I know where you're going.
Are those level 4 plates? It's like, oh shit, we better get out of here.
Yeah. Well, who's the first person I saw to do that? I follow him. It's a heavy set dude in glasses. He does a lot of videos like that.
I don't remember, but either way, it's
it was, and they've done a lot of videos about like machine guns where dude's firing fast, and he plays the other character and walks up and is like, "Hey, is that a machine gun?" And it's memes have become the situation where we make a lot of them on our end, and we're actually funny doing it.
Ours are actually funny, whereas the left can't meme.
No, they can't,
and their jokes are awful too.
Oh god!
I mean, but before he became the leftist shill, Stephen Colbert used to be funny.
Used to be, but most comedians
when he took over for Letterman, it's just like, good lord, what happened to you?
Well, it's and I can't remember who was the first person that said it, but they talked about comedians and said they're like the canary in the coal mine when it comes to freedom. When these people can no longer make these really on the edge jokes, we're done. And besides maybe, and I was never a huge fan of his, but I'm trying to think because
the only comedian that was funny that's still funny is like Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Chappelle still does a really. Bill Burr used to be hysterical. Then seems like the last little bit he's fallen off. Chappelle will still go hard in the paint on anything. But Chappelle went through a period where he was blackballed. Nobody in Hollywood or in entertainment wanted to be around him. And I don't agree with all of his jokes. I don't agree with
all of his jokes either, but he seems to be more on the level where he sees things as black and white. And I don't mean that by skin. I mean that literally on paper.
Yes. Well, I hit it on stream earlier tonight. There are truths. Truths are black and white, and then there are experiences. Those are different. What we've run into in the last little while is the experiences have completely replaced the actual truths.
Well, the problem is that since 2016 to now, all the shit we thought would never happen in our lifetime, that would never happen because, the old saying, fact is is stranger than fiction.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Has completely been, tipped over to the other side.
Yeah, well, I can't bend my arms that way.
Yeah, I know.
Because we get into that with this conspiracy theory stuff.
Yeah. When conspiracy theories turn out to be true, there's something wrong.
How many of you guys? So there's 11 people in the chat right now. How many people heard about the biolab running freaking California by the illegal Chinese alien right now? Put a 1 in the chat if you heard anything about that. And that's serious. If you heard about the illegal biolab in California, put a 1 in the chat. We got Taco, we got Fire Otter, we got Anthony.
I mean, you know, and that's just it. You know, things have gotten way. Man,
it is so sad. BV. Yeah,
I wish I had bet money on it ahead of time, because then, shit, I'd be richer than I am now.
Oh, you ain't lying.
And I ain't lying either. It's just like, wow.
It's the fact that if we had an honest media who would hold our government accountable, we would hear about a lot of this.
Yeah.
However, we're at a point where there can be a factual situation. This dude is an illegal immigrant from this country who had this, and it just gets erased.
You know, I don't know how many more conspiracy theories Honda can do shows on before they become real.
You ain't shitting at all. And we've all in various ways have touched on a lot of these on our shows.
Yeah.
Whether it's me, anybody else who's got their channel and stuff, we've all touched on a lot of this. Matter of fact, hell, I'm surprised my last stream when I talked about elections didn't get me banned. I didn't get spicy there, but
you know what's even more spicy? The fact that Trump won New Hampshire.
Oh yeah, he won it tonight. So
yeah,
Nikki Haley was at 47 point something last time I looked.
I'm telling you, as packed as the Somerville PSA location was when Trump visited last year. I'm telling you right now, I don't think she's got a snowball's chance in South Carolina.
Shane Gills, you gotta have to check him out, man. It's again with comics, it's one of those things. I like someone who shows some intellect, believe it or not. Like Ron White has a lot of intellect built into his shows. Even Rodney Carrington, he has some intellect built into his show. I'm not the biggest fan of someone like Larry the Cable Guy. I love really old, like Richard Pryor stuff. They all touch on a lot of hot button issues, and they did it in a comedic way. They did it honestly.
Well, you know who I miss?
Huh.
He's dead, and I miss his style of humor because he just told it like it was. George Carlin.
Yeah, George Carlin was absolutely honest. There's an interview I've watched with him a few times, and I can't remember which show he was on, but they were talking basically about the ruling class and all this shit, and they're like, "Oh, there's not this big conspiracy," and George Carlin was like, "Look, there doesn't have to be a big conspiracy. You just have to have all these people working towards the same end. They don't have to get together and draw a damn playbook up like it's Dallas Cow. I hate the Dallas Cowboys. Why did I say them? Probably because I hate them. But they don't have to draw the same playbook. They just have to be working towards the same end.
I haven't liked them since the mid to late 90s when they were actually good.
Dude, John Elway, yeah, dude, I'd punch him in the face. There was just something about him. There was something. Maybe it's because I was a Tampa Bay fan at the time that could lead into a lot of it. Hey, look,
Bay.
Tampa Bay.
You got issues, man.
I'm the underdog. This all goes back to me being complete masochist. That's what it is.
And I'm not trying to be football. I don't even like football, so you know.
Dude, I haven't watched it. The last time I seriously watched NFL games was probably a couple of seasons before and up to the season where Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl. Because I was all about some underdogs. And I watched them suck for years. And then I watched them win. And who's it? Brad Johnson was the quarterback. Warren Sapp. There's fucking other dude's name. They were a bunch of key players to that. And they were really damn good. And when they won the Super Bowl, they won the Super Bowl. Fuck y'all. But the next year, they had worked their ass off all year to do it. The next year, they were like, "Hey, we'd like a little bit more pay," and then they fired Warren Sapp, who was one of the biggest provocateurs out there. I love that dude.
Oh,
He'd be
no.
running through the other team's practice, showing off.
He would be whamming through.
Yeah, whamming through. Yeah, whamming through. And Brad Johnson at the time, I think he was probably the most underrated quarterback in the NFL. And there were a bunch of guys. Allstott was another one. I think he was playing tailback. That's how long it's been since I've literally sat there and got into freaking like.
They're going on about other comedians that have died. Another one I miss. Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh, Dangerfield was hysterical.
He didn't play politics. He just had that self-deprecating humor.
Yes, and that's what I was about to say. Go lay down. My 4-year-old's walking here at damn 2:30 in the morning.
Go to bed. You got school.
It was that self-deprecating humor that made Rodney so funny. Because he never pushed that off on anybody else. He might make a joke about someone else, and then it was always about him, having some issue or whatever. And that's Rodney Dangerfield was hysterical. If you've never watched the original Caddyshack, what have you done with your life?
Yeah.
Because that was
again, I'm gonna mention one more, and that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then there was Don Rickles. Okay.
Yes.
Where he would just insult the other person, but the way he did it, it was funny.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you really did it. And it seems like no other actors have tried to emulate him, and the fact is they can't do it right.
No, they can't, because he never did it with malice, and that's the big key. What'd you wake up for, buddy? But yeah, Rickles never did it with malice behind it. He did it with humor, but he never did it with malice. In other words, he wasn't. This is what happens when you got youngins. He never did it like trying to seriously destroy another person. Now, could it if they took it wrong? Yes.
Yeah.
But he never did it with that intentional, I'm going to destroy this person. Hold on. Let me make it bigger. Come on. You got to say hi to everybody. Say hi, perps. And
there you go.
You are well past.
Mini Coop, go to bed.
You are well past sleepy. Come on. Go to bed. That'll be in there and tuck you back in a minute. Back in, because I done tucked you in like 4 times already. Dude, I got night owls, bro. They run on my circadian rhythm, which is not a good thing for school age kids.
Fire Rodder is saying you can't leave out Red Fox and Richard Pryor.
No, Red Fox was hysterical.
Yeah, he was. So was
Pryor.
So was Pryor, but Pryor, he left us too soon too.
Oh, dude, Pryor. He was one of those guys, and again, it's one of those things to where he could put things into a context that was funny that were absolutely tragic.
Right.
Like him setting himself on fire.
It was that self-deprecating humor again.
Yes.
But with him, it was the situations he was in instead of, just making jokes about yourself.
Yes. It was those guys were so, they were brilliant, which Robin Williams was. And we talked about him on a stream not too long back where it was like, dude, the people around him, and I did a little research after that. The people around him, they failed him miserably, because they saw that stuff coming. hold on, let me look something up.
No, I'll totally play with alcohol and open flames. I used to do that all the time, Vanessa Kitty. It's called a bonfire.
Yeah, well, the problem is Richard was playing with crack and freebasing and alcohol at the same time. And apparently,
Yeah, that's not a good mix.
that's the holy triad of holy shit, I'm about to catch on fire.
Yeah, no.
I haven't tried it yet to test it out, but yeah, that was not a good thing.
No.
But him telling the jokes about it later was absolutely hysterical. Damn it, I'm looking up something on George Carlin real fast. So I'm going to show it, and then I'm going to finish this beer, and then we got to go.
All right.
Where is it at? And for those of you guys who haven't been around, George Carlin.
Oh,
hold on, maybe this is it.
Oh, Coop.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me find the right tab so I can see you.
Here, listen. HK slap. HK slap.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I love you, but I could motherfuck you right now because I love one.
Well, it's a copy. It's not an actual HK. It's one of those
I know,
Federal Arms FA-91s.
My wife, and this is.
But I paid like nothing for it. This is why I'm so happy, because I got a roller delayed blowback gun again, and it didn't cost me an arm and a leg. Like the $900 the PTRs are going for right now.
This is a very true story, and I have to look it up on my phone. I've probably got pictures of the bolt. My wife, it's been longer than 3 months, maybe 4 months ago. She sends me a text, and she's like, "Hey, we got this Chris something in there." I can't remember what she said.
Chris Vector.
And when I heard Chris, I thought Chris Vector. And then she sent me a picture of the bolt, and I sent her a message back and was like, "That's an MP5. That's a roller delay action." She's like, "No, but it's a Chris this and that." We went back and forth till the time I was ready to pull my hair out. And what it was this company, Chris whatever, made a MP5 clone.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "No, it's Chris." I was right. I was like, "No, baby. Technically, it's a Chris
MP5.
but it is an MP5 goddamn clone. That's why I have the little roller things that come out on the bolt, and it's just
Yukikaze, speaking of Eddie Murphy, his early music was good too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, party all the time, man.
Back in the 80s, of course, you had movies like what?
It's only because his producer was Rick James.
Something Hours. What was it? Oh, I can't think of it offhand. It's been that long. 48 Hours. And then you had another 48 Hours of him and Nick Nolte. And then he did part of the soundtrack for it. And it was freaking great. I remember jamming to that shit.
I mean, no, you heard what I said. His producer was Eddie Murphy's. Was Rick James? Yes, of Super Freak, fame.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're gonna watch. We're gonna watch George Carlin. And I'm gonna slam the rest of the beer and get out of here. This was George Carlin on Conspiracy.
He's like, there was so much cocaine involved in the party all the time. Yes,
oh, no kidding.
Rick James was involved. What do you expect?
I'm Rick James, bitch. Oh, damn. We'll be up here for the next 3 days. I start on that.
Here in California, not as a result of a conspiracy, but
you
because
don't need a formal conspiracy. Right. When interests converge, these people went to the same universities and fraternities. They're on the same boards of directors. They're on the same country clubs. They have like interests. They don't need to call a meeting. They know what's good for them, and they're getting it. And there used to be 7 oil companies. There are now 3. It will soon be 2. The things that matter in this country have been reduced in choice. There are 2 political parties. There are a handful of
okay, he ain't finished yet, but damn.
Insurance companies, there are about 6 or 7 information things. But if you want a bagel, there are 23 flavors because you have the illusion. You have the illusion of choice.
Right. You don't get the real important choice. There's no freedom of choice.
That was on Bill Maher. I forgot that.
Right. And speaking
And Bill Maher was just, he blew past that point. He was like, and speaking of.
Yeah, he was like, in other news.
Yeah. And you've noticed in the last what? I don't know, probably 6 years, Bill Maher's caught on to a lot of this.
Though, for me, there's really only one flavor of bagel I truly enjoy.
Which flavor is that? I'll ask you that before I go into this joke. Which
Blueberry.
I will dig that all day long.
Yeah.
Because
with some butter and some,
cream cheese. How do you not put cream cheese on a bagel?
Hold on, follow me for a second, okay?
I'm with you. I'm right on your ass. Trust me.
Toast it in the toaster. Okay.
You
butter it, and then put some peanut butter on top. It's delicious.
I could dig that. I really could.
And if you don't want peanut butter, I am also a Nutella guy, so put Nutella on it too. It's delicious.
Dude, I could dig Nutella on one of those.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, you have more options. I've done the cream cheese. Cream cheese is great, but if you're eating a toasted bagel for breakfast, you kind of want something more than just cream cheese.
Dude. Fucking first thing in the morning with a cup of coffee, I would knife a bum in the neck for a bagel with cream cheese. Just saying, maybe it's a thing. Getting to the joke on the whole bagel thing.
Go for it.
Me and my wife hadn't been married long, and she knows my family heritage. And
it's amazing you're still married.
Yeah, it is. Trust me. Trust me.
I know. I've heard her talk.
But it wasn't too long after we had been married. My mom did a bunch of genealogy shit, and then she figured out that part of our family had a big Jewish heritage, and part of it was English, and then there was part of it that was Native American. I'm a mutt, trust me.
So am I.
But my wife, one morning, I can't remember what was going on. I might have been getting up to go to work, and I can't remember how she said it. It was something about, I'll fix you a bagel. And I went, what do you think I am, a Jew or some shit like that? And she fell out. And it took her at least 10 minutes to get the fact that I was joking at that point. Or no, what I called her a racist. That's what I called her. I called her a racist because she was like, you want a bagel? It's like, what are you, a racist? And it fucked her world up for a good 10, 15 minutes.
I can't see that from her. Normally she's like throwing daggers at your ass or something.
Oh, dude, yeah. My wife's a stone cold badass. That's the only reason that she's been able to put it with me this long. But she has learned through the pain to put it with my sense of humor. And we had been not
God, that woman's a saint.
Yeah, she pretty much is. She really is. There are issues with everything, but yeah, that woman puts up with a lot of shit.
Yeah, if you look at the dictionary under issues, you'll see Coop.
Yes, because my biggest issue is sometimes whether I'm completely sober, whether I've had a few, whether I'm in a bad mood, whether I'm in a good mood, my sense of humor is quick. So I come up with stuff very fast. I was dealing with students today, and this is fucking serious. And I'm teaching them on an oxyacetylene rig. And showing him stuff about torches and stuff.
Oh boy. And that's not good.
The way our torches are set up, I told them you have two oxygen knobs. It's a combination torch. You have two oxygen knobs. One that controls oxygen to the whole torch, and the other one that controls your preheat oxygen. Don't touch the one that controls oxygen to the torch itself. That stays open. Now I've got like 9 people standing there, and we have been through this multiple times. And I've still got one guy who's grabbing at the oxygen knob I told him not to touch, and he's turning it all over the place. And I told him in front of everybody, I said, quit messing with that knob. Don't mess with that one. It's the other knob up the top of the torch. And he kept messing with it. And I finally told him in front of everybody, quit fucking with it. It's not your goddamn pecker. And yeah, that might get me in a little issues later. But it's just quit. It is amazing to me. You can take that many people, put them in a situation where they're all repeating the same process, and you tell them, watch everybody ahead of you so that when they make mistakes, you don't make the same mistake. Oh, I'm so going to hell. And you still have people who...
You really are.
Yeah, gasoline pants and everything.
One-way ticket.
All I need is a fucking 2 sets of tanks on my back with acetylene and oxygen and a can full of gasoline.
Though from that story, you know what? You really should have taken your own advice.
Maybe. But it's just one of those things. And I didn't do it in a mean way, guys. I think I did it in a mean way.
I don't know. How much meaner can you get this?
Well, I could have just yelled at him and demeaned him and done all this shit, but I did it in a way where I didn't have to yell at him, and I got his attention. And then he went to kind of laugh a little bit. It was like, yeah, laugh at it, but learn from it. And I'm that way in a lot of things that I teach. If we can laugh at it, we can learn from it, and then we can progress. I tell my students all the time, I don't care how you learn it, as long as you learn it the right way.
Right.
You know, as long as we're being safe, because this is dangerous stuff we're dealing with, much like firearms. As long as you learn it in a safe manner, it doesn't matter to me how you learn it. Now, don't go watch a welding video of a dude wearing flip-flops and a welding hood with sparks bouncing off his knuckles and his feet get caught on fire and think that's the dude I need to learn how to weld from. No, that's the exact wrong dude you need to watch. And hell, we see that with guns all the time.
Wait, you mean I'm not supposed to weld in my shorty shorts and my flip-flops?
No, the Daisy Dukes don't belong in welding. You need to wear actual footwear that will protect you from burns and a welding hood and stuff like that.
And I've been doing it all wrong.
Yeah. But we've all seen that with firearms where you watch the dude, and if you've had the very most basic instruction on firearms, you watch this dude and he's telling you, this is how I do it. And you're like, do I really have to look down the barrel to see whether it's loaded? I didn't see that in my last, research.
Yes, but from the right end, not the wrong end.
Yeah, well, the problem is, and this is
you got to pull the bolt back.
Yeah, this is hold on. I'll grab the frame. So there's.
Oh, don't do that. We're gonna get killed.
Yeah. There's no slide. There's no barrel.
They'll stop. Way. Don't do it.
But they're looking at it like this, going, "Is it loaded?" If you see a flash, you'll be the first to know.
You're gonna get it. You're gonna get a warning, dude. Because
I will probably.
Yeah.
This is the reason I've been worried about monetizing my stuff. I'm pretty well in the process of burning it all down while I'm going.
It's just a slow burn.
Oh yeah, it is. It's again, I talk to my students,
and I joke about the whole welding and flip-flops thing. I know better. I have equipment. I have equipment. I know better. I just like to joke about it.
It's like, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna appendix carry in my thong, and no one will ever notice. Either you are hung like a fucking bull and carrying a really small gun, or everybody's gonna notice.
Everybody's gonna notice, but not really. They're gonna see the gun, but they're also going to see that thong is really small.
Okay, how many people in here have heard the Ron White bit about Squirrel Man? Even if you are Squirrel Man, you're not toting a subcompact without someone noticing. Just saying, not in that outfit. Throw some pants on, a shirt on that kind of overhangs, you're good to go.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yeah, I am. But anyway, guys, I gotta get out
But
of here.
remember what he said. Give me all the bacon. Now you may have heard, I want some bacon. That's wrong. I want all the bacon.
All the bacon. Every bit.
And with that, we'll see you later, everyone.
Yes. You guys take it easy. I love all you guys. Hopefully it wasn't too traumatizing. Blame that shit on Chris Murphy and Dick Durbin. That's all I got to say. We're on the First Circuit Court of Appeals.
Or blame Coop until next time.
Yeah, you can blame me till next time. It's fine. We'll be here for. I still have to do the arguments on Chevron deference. So that's like 3.5 hours worth of pain.
I don't know if I can watch that again.
Oh, dude.
I watched. I went through it once already when it was live. I don't think I could go through it again, Coop.
Well, if we go through it together, like me, you, Warsaw, others, we can get through a 30-minute argument in about 4 hours. So it won't be near as painful.
Yes, but that's only if Sotomayor shuts the fuck up.
Well, she's the fucker. Why do you gotta say? Why do you have to say her name before I go to sleep? There goes all the wet dreams I ever would have had.
She was trying to cock block the entire hearing.
And then you say cock. If I have a dream about Sotomayor and anything involving a cock, I'm driving and I'm choking you out.
All I have to say is quit messing with it. It ain't your pecker.
I love all you guys, man. I got to check out. I do got to get some sleep.
Yeah, me too.
Warsaw showed up earlier, hung out, and that was making me and him go like 3 minutes through. Oh, God, this sounds so bad. There's no good way to say it. Making me and him go through 3 minutes of oral without losing our brains. There's no good way to say this.
Then don't say it.
Well, I'm already saying it, so we're screwed. But then pausing it then having to go through the bullshit that was just said. For all you guys that hung out and chat that whole time, you guys are fucking warriors. I'm just saying. Yep. Let me go pour my pants full of gasoline. I'm going to go light a match. I'll see you guys in, I don't know, 1,000 years, however long.
Yeah, remember to give me a link this time.
Well, I sent you one earlier tonight.
Yeah, you did, and I was asleep.
Don't do that kind of shit.
I know. I woke up and I saw the link, and I was like, I wonder if he's still live. He's still live on YouTube. So I didn't miss anything.
No, you missed, but you didn't. Yeah, you didn't.
No. I got to the good part. It's fine.
Yeah. You definitely got to the good part because it was after most of the oral arguments when you showed up. So yeah, it's like, how many licks does it take to get to the middle of a Tootsie Roll pop, and you skipped all the licks and got to the Tootsie. Oh, Jesus Christ, that still doesn't sound right.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna make these jokes, it's that Tootsie Roll.
Oh, shit fire.
Let's go.
I love all you guys. I got to get out of here. I do have to get about 3 hours worth of sleep before I got to get up. You guys take them easy. As always, you perps be cool. Night Strike, even you too. Keep that on you at all times. And when I do the oral argument stream, brother, seriously, I got to get you on.
I'd show you mine, but it's loaded and it's a PSA rock.
I don't give a shit. It's a 5.7. It ain't gonna hurt nobody.
Yeah, it is. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt someone who comes to this house uninvited. That's for sure.
I will say this: you're the first man that's almost made me spit in a long time, and we're gonna leave everybody with that.
Please, let's go. Let's go right now. I don't know.
It just gets worse.
I don't know if I can make a comeback for that one.
I'm gonna break a rib. Yeah, it just gets worse from here. You first taking me easy. I love all you guys.